let's intro you. That's
Okay.
her. That's Mykayla Skinner coughing. You heard it here first. Welcome to another episode of Now for Later. I'm your host, Eric Mika. We are so excited to have an Olympian, a medalist, actually, at the Olympics. We're going to get to that. Mykayla Skinner. She's living here in Utah, so we're super grateful to have her. An incredible story that we're going to jump into, obviously. A story about resilience and persistence like none other, right? At the top of the top, at the highest level. Did some incredible things as a gymnast, is now doing incredible things as a person and as a wife and as a mom, as a businesswoman, as someone that started a foundation and has helped with foundations. You're the epitome of who we want on this podcast, right? Like figuring out how to be this complete person. And I'm sure you were thrown into it like nobody else because of the nature of gymnastics, right? So super excited to have you on. I didn't want to spoil everything in the intro.
Oh,
but
that's okay.
I'm just super excited to have you. Thank you for being here.
I'm so glad I got to be here. Take it away.
Our intro was kind of random, but it was perfect.
It was a good random.
It was,
random.
that's how it always goes, right? My wife is best friends, and I'm friends with her too, but she's my wife's best friend, Cam, who you know, and you know her brother better.
Yep.
And there was this event. What was this event?
It was the
In
Mom
Sandy.
Summit.
The Mom Summit.
Yeah. And so they do it like once a year, and it's just to help moms and educate moms who are struggling or have different ways to help raise your children and all these things. So it was really cool. I've heard about
really
it,
cool,
but
yeah.
never had been to it. And then Sean Johnson and Andrew East were actually sponsoring the event.
Cool.
And so they did it last year, but flew out this year and asked us to do like a quick little Q&A question. So it was fun, and it was...
So you and Jonas did that
Yeah,
together.
we did that. Yeah. I'm
that's
like,
awesome.
I'm not a mom yet, but
Yeah,
I'll
but
give some advice
pending.
as much as I can.
Like, you're 80% there.
80%, yeah.
Right?
I like that.
We'll say 80.
Yeah,
We might
80's
round it
good.
up, but
that
I know
makes
how
me
it
feel
goes.
even better. 80.
I know how it goes, so we'll round up. Yeah, so I think it was the night before, Gabby, we were just on the couch. I think we were watching like Love Island or something. I don't know if you ever watched. Great show.
I've seen Love Island, yeah.
Great show.
It is a good show.
Very entertaining. Shout out Love Island. Sponsor us. And she got a call from Cam. And it was like one of those late night calls from a friend that like you're like, do I answer? Do I not? Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
But she answered. I'm glad, obviously, here we are, because I'm glad she did. Because she was like, hey, I got these tickets. I also have like backstage. I'm sure there wasn't a stage, but like I got VIP access, you know, so that we can meet, you know, like Mykayla and Sean. And I think there was one other athlete that like she thought would be super cool to meet. And like jokingly, I was like, Gabby, you have to go and you have to get every single person there on my podcast.
They were talking about it. They were going around. You got to get on my husband's podcast. It's super cool.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, yeah.
You're like,
I'll go.
What is it about? And they're like, oh, well, they haven't actually recorded anything, but it's going to be really cool. But since then, we put in some work. This is episode, I think, 14.
Okay.
It'll be released in a little bit different order. I'm not sure where this will be, but probably early on, earlier than 14 at least. But yeah, like they went and they talked to you guys. It sounded like you guys hit it off really well. My wife is...
We're like the same. I feel like tall husbands,
she was
short,
maybe
pregnant.
2 months.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, really, you just nailed it on. Like literally the same height, husband, same height, pregnancy within a month or two.
Yep.
It was meant to be. But yeah, we're super excited to have you. We want to start from the beginning. Growing up in Gilbert, Arizona. Gilbert, what a name. Tell us about it. I know you have sisters. You're the youngest. Talk about them, your family dynamic, getting into gymnastics, anything else you were into as a kid. Like we just want to hear about it all. We want to deep dive into what you were like as a kid.
Yeah, I wish I got into lots of things, but I didn't, sadly.
Well,
but anyway, gymnastics is all it is for me. But yeah, so I actually have an older brother, 2 sisters, and I have 12 nieces and nephews.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
So I was the tiebreaker. So I make 13 for the girl. So there'll be 7 girls, 6 boys.
Big time.
Big time. So really fun. So I became an aunt at like 12 or 13.
Oh, wow.
My mom had a hard time getting pregnant. We were really far apart. So I kind of became like the only child really young.
She had you when she was 40.
When she was 40.
Right.
Yep.
So what is that gap between you and your next?
So it's like pretty much 5, 10, like 15.
Wow.
All the way up. Yeah.
And one of your sisters, I think you're really close with, was like old enough to like be your second mom.
Yeah.
Is what it sounds like.
It was like the second I came out of the womb,
Wow.
teaching me gymnastics, doing all the things.
Yeah.
I was a crazy, gutsy child.
What do you mean by that? Like,
I just had no fear, climbed on everything. When
Yeah.
I was, I feel like I'm going to get the age wrong, but when I was probably a year old or
we'll fact
so.
check you.
Yeah. I might need to ask my mom this one.
Yeah.
But I climbed the ladder. My dad was
Mhm.
working outside, climbed the top of the ladder and was dangling from it. So all the things.
At one?
Yeah. I think it was
Yikes.
like at one. And I
That's
just climbed to the
terrifying.
top.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. And then when we were little, we'd climb up the light poles and sit on the very top of the light poles and crazy things.
Wow.
Crazy things.
Yeah, gymnastics made sense from a young age.
Yeah.
Kind
Yeah.
of.
It was kind of
either
meant to
that
be.
or like going and living in the jungle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those were kind of your two options.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy. So I feel like that's also what made me good at gymnastics, just not having fear
Yeah.
and was just able to go big or go home. So
And also kind of into like, I don't know, just I hate like just kind of monkeying around. My wife
Oh,
is
yeah.
like, like she likes doing flips. She likes jumping off of things. She likes climbing things. So
I think
makes
it just
sense.
helps being small.
Yeah.
You and my
Small and
husband, not
strong.
so much.
Not
you
so
know?
much. We're not so nimble.
Right.
Jonas and I.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you kind of between like being small and just not being afraid, and then you're older. Both sisters did
Actually,
gymnastics.
all my siblings did gymnastics.
All of them did.
All
Oh,
of
your
them.
brother
yeah,
too.
my brother did it just for a little bit. My mom was a swimmer. My dad played football, basketball, and stuff.
Cool.
Nothing crazy, but my mom just loved gymnastics. And
Yeah.
so for some reason, she put all of us in it. My siblings did everything.
Yeah.
Softball, diving. Like my sister had a scholarship to BYU for diving and didn't take it because she was scared of heights.
Oh,
And so she just hated it.
that would make it tough.
Yeah. So unfortunately, she didn't pursue in that, but they did cheer, everything.
Yeah.
And I just stuck with gymnastics. I don't know.
So
Just
from the
meant to
jump,
be. Yeah.
from the jump, you were just
Yeah.
you liked it the most, and
It was kind of hard though, because I always tell people it was like a love-hate relationship, which I feel like a lot of times it is with gymnastics just because
Yeah.
it's so hard
right.
and like so many hours and you just have to be so dedicated. But I kind of hated it. And my mom actually took me out of gymnastics for a year. So we moved to Utah for 2 years. My dad got transferred for work when I was 6 and 7. And then we moved back to Arizona. But during those 2 years I was here, I did gymnastics and I did tops, which is kind of the start of like kind of the elite Olympic program.
Yeah.
And I hated it. And so my mom, when we moved back to Arizona, actually took me out and I quit for a year
Wow.
because I just needed the break. I wanted to play with friends. That was the
Right.
hard part. I
You
wanted
were
to have
7.
a life. Yeah.
Right.
Like so many hours at such a young age. I kind of hated it. I loved competing and I loved training and doing the big skills. But it just wasn't fun.
It was just
like torture kind of.
hours and hours at that age.
Yeah.
Just doesn't make sense.
It was
But
not
is
worth
that
it.
obviously I don't know much about gymnastics. It seems like that's kind of the only way though.
Oh yeah.
Like that's
oh yeah. That's the only way you're gonna
route
make it.
is from when you're super
Yep.
young, before you even know if you like it. Also before you even know if you're gonna be the right size.
Right.
Right? Like
Oh yeah.
you have to start committing at a really young age, and like I have to imagine there's a lot of burnout.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you were burnt out at 7 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, but you came back.
Yeah.
So
Came
you just
back.
missed it enough.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't
Not
say
even?
missed it enough. So
We're
my
talking about you as a 7-year-old. I mean, it's
I know.
crazy. Who knows what you were thinking?
Right. Well, my coaches just saw a lot of talent in me. And so they always
crazy.
kept telling my mom, she's going to go to the Olympics. But I'm like, my mom's like, yeah, right. Like,
Right.
it's so hard to get there. And
Come on, Mom.
yeah. And my mom's like, I don't even know where you even start.
Yeah, right.
And it's crazy.
You can't
'cause-
even read. Why would you
No,
go? How can you
right?
go to the Olympics?
Right?
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. My family, they've been super big into sports. And so my mom just was watching Karolyi Patterson in the Olympics. So that was like, what, 2008? I think she was. Oh, no. No, it was before. I'm so wrong. I should know my stuff. What
Probably
is wrong with me?
2004. Yeah. Because
Was
you were
it-
born in 96.
Was it 2004?
So you were 8.
Karolyi Patterson? Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah. See, you can do the math. I
We'll
can't.
fact check.
That's pretty good. Pregnancy brain. I'm going to be having a lot of stuff I can't remember.
Just keep saying that.
But she was watching her in the Olympics and just felt inspired. Like, you need to put
Wow.
Mykayla back into gymnastics.
You're kidding.
So she did.
Wow.
And then I went to a family friend gym that
Yeah.
we grew up going to. And the highest level there was level 8. And
Okay.
the highest level in gymnastics is level 10. And then that's when you try to get a scholarship, go to college.
Mm-hmm.
And then elite is like the Olympic route, which is kind of like a whole nother thing.
Right.
But my mom was just like, no, she wants to have fun. So like I ended up doing level 8 for 2 years. So after the first year of level 8, the coaches, Beth and Jason, the owners of the gym, were like, you need to switch her gyms. And my mom's like, no, she's not ready. So
Like she's too good for this.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Which is just so crazy because like
Wild. Yeah.
I didn't feel like I mean, I wasn't that good, but
they,
I guess they could see the talent,
they
you
could
know.
spot it from that
yeah,
age.
which is so weird because
That
I'm
is
like, I didn't
crazy.
feel like
Right.
it's just crazy. So I ended up doing level 8 for 2 years. And then after the second year, they're like, she needs to go. So we ended up going to Desert Lights in Chandler, Arizona.
Yep.
And they did the elite program. But I wasn't even thinking like Olympics elite, you know,
Yeah.
type of thing.
You're still just kind of having fun.
Yeah. And so they knew I was coming. They had watched me throughout the year at being at Olympic, our family friend gym. They knew I was probably going to come over. So they were keeping an eye on me and watched me throughout the year and didn't realize like my first week at Desert Lights, I was 12 when I went to Desert Lights. And I had a foam pit, better equipment, and I was just going and chucking and doing all these crazy skills. And they're like, we're putting her in the elite program. She's going to start. So at age 12, I was doing like 7 hours a day.
Jeez.
So it was intense.
I
And
mean, having to focus that long at that age.
right,
Yeah.
is crazy. But then like kind of once they told me, you know, like they saw potential in me, I was kind of like, the Olympics, like that's cool. And then I kind of was like, I want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, like I was kind of like sucked in, ready to go. I'm like, I'm all in
At 12.
at 12.
So was part of it like, because there was another Olympics probably then, right? 2004. Yeah.
yeah.
So right around
Yep.
that time. So was that part of it too? Because I'm like trying to think if at 12 I knew who was in the Olympics, or I probably watched the
knew.
basketball games, but
Right.
but was that part of it that you watched that and you're like, oh, they're saying I can do this and I can be on this stage,
Right.
so
I
I'm
mean,
gonna go for it.
At a little age, I think it's kind of every girl's dream to go to the Olympics, especially in gymnastics because it's
Yeah.
so popular.
Right.
So at such a young age, I was like, I want to go to the Olympics. That's my dream.
Mhm.
But I didn't know what it took.
Right.
I didn't know all the steps and all the
How-
different
yeah, how
things.
could you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until I went to Desert Lights, and then it was like, you have to train, you got to be homeschooled, all these things. And then you have to go to national team training camps and you got to get selected in. You got to send videos to Marta Karolyi, who was the Olympic coach at the time, to get put into these camps. And you have to get all these qualifying scores and you got to make hopes, and then junior international elite and senior elite, and make the national team, which competes for Team USA. And then you try to go to Worlds and Olympics, Olympic trial, like all
oh
the
my
things.
gosh,
It's
I'm
just
like overwhelmed hearing about it.
it's like,
I didn't even
it's
go through it.
intense. It's a lot to get
So you
there. And a
have
lot
to-
of kids
you
don't
have to
get
be
there.
really good. You have to be really naturally talented. You have to work super hard, and you have to get lucky,
Right.
right? And
Right.
then even then, you might not even
Yeah.
make it.
And it's hard because, you know, I get moms all the time like, my daughter's going to the Olympics, or like she needs to switch gyms, or all these different things sometimes. And you're just kind of like, she's a little too old. And it's hard because you can't say those things. You just,
Right.
you want to be like, oh yeah, like she's got this, she's going to do great. You know, you could go to this gym, but you know, height plays a part in it, what level you are at what age.
Right.
Like, I don't think people realize like to do this, you have to be pretty young.
And yeah, you have to be the best of the best,
Right.
super young. I mean,
super young.
As you were kind of talking, I was blown away at like your coaches seeing talent at age 7 and 8. But then I kind of, then I like remembered we're talking about gymnastics where, people are competing at a really young age.
Right. Well,
the Olympics.
in the
It's
Olympics,
not the timeline.
15, 16.
Exactly.
That's when you like peaked.
That's your peak. So
Yeah.
like the NBA, I'm just trying to think like when I see an 8-year-old play basketball, I could never say, oh, he'll play in the NBA because he has 11 years to screw it
Right.
up. You know what I mean?
So
Or,
crazy.
he might have a head start, like big deal. But in gymnastics, it is a big deal. Like at 8, you get scouted, which is crazy. And then you get sucked. I mean, like this is just blowing me away because then it sounds like you get sucked in at a young age. Of course you want to go to the Olympics, but like you said, you don't know what that entails.
Right.
And so you sign up for something that you don't even know really what like how hard it's going to be for how long.
Yeah.
And I have to imagine, like, this is kind of jumping into what I wanted to talk about a little bit later early, but like you get your identity tied up into gymnastics, like when you're a kid, when you're a baby, like that's it. Like I'm like trying to think when I started. I don't know if I've ever played basketball 7 hours a day at any stretch of my life, right? Obviously, maybe a whole practice, getting there early and lifting, practice, nutrition after, and cool down, like might be 5 hours, 6 hours, right? And I'll do that a couple times a week, but like every day I'm like, that's crazy.
It's insane.
So like you, from a young age, you probably just saw yourself as a gymnast,
Yeah.
which is like also hard.
Yeah. It's like my identity,
Did you have time to be into anything else? Like
Not really. I
Nothing.
wish. And
Yeah.
then, with being LDS, you have church things, and family is really important. And I missed out on so much, which was just so sad. My coach did let me leave a little early on Wednesdays so I could go to mutual and church activities a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
She wasn't the happiest about it, but so she did let me do that a bit. But there's still, like, I had nieces and nephews at 13 years old, and it was like, I feel like I missed all of their childhood because I was so busy with gym, and now they're like so big and old, and I'm like, this is weird, you know? Like, I don't have that. I mean, I do have close relationships with them, but it's just not what I would have wanted to be an aunt.
So like going back in time, say you could balance it, right? Like you could still do both. Like what do you think you would have been into as a kid?
Oh my gosh. It's so hard because I like gymnastics is so cool to me that other sports I'm kind of like, eh.
Yeah.
Or like everyone's like, do you watch other sports? Are you into other sports now that you're done with gym? I'm like, eh. Yeah. I watch basketball because my husband loves it. So I've gotten to like that. Yeah. And like we'll go to the Jazz games and stuff. But other than, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's so hard. I'm like, what would I have tried? Because like to me, gymnastics is like the coolest sport of all time.
Right.
And just like the work ethic and all the stuff you learn at such a young age. Like I just feel like matured me so much.
Right.
And it's going to set me up for like so many things.
Yeah, you had a job. You had a serious job at 12. You were competing for the Olympics. I mean, you probably just would have been, that's a hard question. Like, what would you have been into as a kid? You probably just would have been into everything. Just like
lots of things. I mean, my siblings did it all. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, man, it must be nice to like go to school and like come home and hang out with friends.
Did you think that though? Like at the time?
All the time. I'm like, I have to go to practice to, you know, and it's like, elite gymnastics is, I mean, getting to level 10 is intense as it is, but like doing elite, it's like, you can't have a bad day, otherwise you're gonna get hurt or you have to be like on point every moment of every time, you know what I mean? You just have to be perfect. And it's like if I went into the gym and I was tired, like it was just horrible to like push through the workout. I'm crying, you know. I'm like, this is miserable, this is not fun at this point because the routines are so hard. We have like 15 skills in a bar routine, and like in college gymnastics you have like 4. It's just like the comparison doesn't even compare. It's just insane, and it's hard and it's brutal. And then they want you doing routines twice a day. Like when we go to Worlds and stuff for gymnastics, which is basically like the Olympics every year except the Olympic year. Right. We are gone for a month, and even for that whole month, we don't get one day off. We go Monday through Sunday. Our day off is a half a day practice. So normally we're doing 2-day workouts, double the routines. And Marta Karolyi wanted us to train like that at home, which a lot of the gymnasts did. But that's why they got so burnt out and their bodies were broken. And even though I worked out those 7 hours, I didn't do that many numbers of routines. Like my coach really had a good game plan and kept me healthy and strong. Right. And I think that's why I was able to come back from college, you know, and try for the Olympics again because my body wasn't beaten up. Right.
Is there like this is insane to me. Like, is there a specific time you remember, whether it was with like friends or with like family, like something that you missed out that you were super bummed about as a kid? Or was it just...
Oh man. It's hard because I was like the only child at so young because all my siblings got married, had kids. And so it's like, it's not like we did much vacations anyway. My mom had me at 40 and she had to have 2 knee replacements. She's kind of crippled for being a mom, and she was a grandma, you know, I always consider her like a grandma. Right. And so it's not like we ever got to do fun things, but I think maybe missing those opportunities to go with my friends too. Like, you know, especially senior year and going like on vacation and, you know, what do you call it? When you graduate high school, you go on your senior vacation or what is it? Or like senior trip.
Yeah,
or
you don't even know.
Just doing the little things, or even like prom and stuff. Like
you didn't get to do any of that.
No, I went to, they had Mormon prom in Arizona that they kind of started having.
Like the church just put on a
they put on a prom. So I did do that once because I was able to go because the dates just lined up. But most of the time it was like right during my season, and it just didn't work out. Wow. So which, I mean, now looking back, I don't know if I miss it that much as I did in the moment, you know?
Of course.
But just little things like that. It's the little things that kind of hurt.
Yeah. And then do you think, like, I know you've talked about this before when I was reading up on you, and you've already mentioned it now. Like, every little thing is calculated. Every little thing has to be perfect. Like, you can get a perfect score in gymnastics, which makes it super different from other sports, right? Like, you watch a basketball, obviously basketball is my frame of reference, right? Yeah. You watch a basketball game, there's mistakes on every single play, right? Or else the score would be 0-0, but then actually you're screwing up on offense. So like by nature, there has to be mistakes. in gymnastics, they're looking for perfectionism.
Right.
Did you feel like that was creeping into like your life? Like, were you a perfectionist? Like, did every little thing like outside of gymnastics have to be like that? Or were you able to like separate those two things?
I think I was able to separate them pretty good.
Because you had it so much.
Yes. Yeah. And obviously in the gym, I'm like, yeah, you got to be perfect at all times. Like even being around Marta, it was like, you fall once, we don't want you anymore. You're not good enough.
Wow.
You know, like camps were brutal. We would go for a week. It was in, what part of Texas?
Oh, this is the black hole.
The Karolyi Ranch, yeah.
What's its nickname? Because you guys weren't you just isolated? You're just there just to grind.
It was in New Waverly, Texas.
Okay.
So we had like drive in the middle of nowhere, and we stayed in these little cabins with little twin beds, and there'd be mold and bugs. And then you look at the men's gymnastics team, you know, we're better than them. No offense. But, you know, we're winning all these things.
No offense, just facts.
Yeah, just facts. Sorry. But I'm like, we win all these medals. We're like the best in the world.
Right.
And we make all this money, yet we train in like a dump. You know, it's like,
sense.
And they're in Colorado Springs with nice facilities, good food. And it was horrible, but it was torture. It was literally like going to a boot camp. I would cry every time, like the day before we would leave. I would just sit in bed and cry. I couldn't sleep.
Oh my gosh.
Just the anxiety and stress, because Marta was just so intense that it was awful. I mean, I don't know if you've heard the stories with everything with Larry Nasser and all the things that have come out, but girls would like hit their heads on the sink to try to like get a concussion so they'd have a reason not to go to camp.
Oh my gosh.
Like I feel like half the time I can't even remember stuff because it was just so bad. I just like, my mind doesn't even want to go there, you know?
Yeah.
But I just like, I don't know how I did it. Like I remember my very first camp I went to, I was robbed from one of these meets, and Marta Karolyi at the time was like, we want her to start coming to camp. So we're going to have her come because politic reasons. But anyway, she was like, we want to send her to a national team training camp. And normally you go to like developmental camps first before you go to the national team camps, because you have to be on national team to go to those. And Marta sent me to my first camp, and it was actually when Sean was there just coming back, when she was trying to make a comeback. Sean was there and Nasser. So I was with like really big names, and I didn't know what camp was. You know, I'm like, this is all new to me. Step, and at the time they'd only have like just the national team there. Now they'll kind of have some other athletes come that are get in there and like trying to get on the national team. So they'll usually be like 25 athletes. Then it was only like 12 or 10.
Wow.
It was very small. And so I went, and my first day I cried calling my mom on Zoom, and I was bawling my eyes out because I was like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I hate this. This is horrible. Because I didn't know what it was like. Yeah. You know, but then I got home and I'm like, if I want to go to the Olympics, this is what you got to do.
Wow.
You know, so it was just like, my mom's like, I'll be here to support you. This is your decision. You know, it's going to be hard, but if you want to do it, you got to do it. And it's just so crazy that they had this system that could treat athletes that way. It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, you can be intense and you can still get the job done. Yeah. You know?
How many times did you go to this?
It was once a month.
Wow.
For 7 days. So it was literally like we'd go train for 3 weeks and then be back at camp again. It was a lot. So I missed tons of school. I actually went to high school because I just hated being homeschooled. I was homeschooled 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And I was like, Mom, I have to go to high school. I have to have a social life. I need friends outside of the gym. And so I did like half day schedules. So I'd go at 6 a.m., leave at noon, and then train from 1 to 8 p.m. So I hardly got sleep. And then I was traveling all the time. So I missed 40 days my sophomore, junior year, and senior year. I missed 80 days of school.
Wow.
So they would have
you were
to
at the camp.
Yes, camps, meets,
yeah,
all the things, and they would have to unenroll me from school and re-enroll me just to make it work. Right. It was crazy.
So every month for a week, for years, you went to this camp.
Yep, since I was 13, 14. Yep.
All the way up to when you went to college.
Well, yeah, till I went to college and then started going back again when I went back to Elite. But then they had a new Olympic coach, and things have been, different since all the scandals,
I have a million questions now. So you went to this place, I don't know, dozens of times. You cried every time before you went.
Every time.
They're
horrible.
You thought, so was it the only way to get through it? To be this is the only way? That's what got you through
Pretty
it?
much.
You mentioned that even before you started going to this camp, you hated practice.
Right.
You dreaded going. You wanted to kind of live a normal life. So the only thing that kept you going was this
is what
Olympic
it takes.
dream.
Yep.
Wow. How you said things have kind of changed. How was it allowed to be like that back then? Like how was
I don't
like this camp sounds like
it's
hell.
horrible.
I mean,
I'm not even going into detail really, but
I don't want to
just from the gist
downplay
of
like
it,
and joke about it, but you've seen holes.
yes.
It reminds. It sounds
it's
like it was holes.
It's
like
literally
you're just
like
out
you're
on the
going to
desert.
boot camp, like
Yeah.
you're in the military, in the art, like I don't know.
No, go
for
into as much
gymnastics.
detail as you want. Like I want to hear about this camp, like for real.
Oh, it's
Like was you said the food wasn't good, the living
food wasn't
good.
that great. I mean, as time has gone on, food's gotten better, but like a lot of coaches, were crazy, wouldn't let their athletes eat stuff, wouldn't let their athletes drink water because they're going to gain water weight. My coach was fine about it. So at least I could go and eat what I needed to.
Yeah.
And I would always bring this big bag of like snacks, of like candy. Like my whole life
Sneak 'em
I grew up eating garbage. Like
Yeah.
my mom was like, "You
Yeah,
want
you're a kid.
Chick-fil-A?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, let's go," know?
Right. Chick-fil-A is not garbage, by the way.
Yeah. It's good.
It's
just
very
not good
good.
for you
Not
being an
good for you.
athlete.
There
You
you
know,
go.
there we go.
There you go.
And so obviously my mom cooked dinner and stuff and we had good meals, but I just ate Chick-fil-A and all these things. And a lot of athletes couldn't eat that way,
Right.
or had to be cautious and watch their weight. And I never had to really worry about that. And so like going to camp and stuff, my mom would take me to the grocery store and I'd pack up all these crazy snacks just because you would crave it when you're there because the food's not that great and you're working out like almost double the hours because the whole time you're there, you're like a robot and your body hurts because you're trying to be perfect and
Yeah.
moving muscles you're not used to because you're trying not to fall and all these things. And the pressure is just, it's insane. But I had all these snacks. And so all the girls would always come to my room. Mykayla, like they'd always eat all my snacks because their coaches sometimes would check their bags before they
Wow.
went. So some girls used to bring stuff in their suitcases and some of the coaches were so crazy they would
They'd find it.
look into their suitcases and
Wow.
tons of different things. But as time got on, it got better.
Yeah, that's good.
Because they realized nutrition's important. Maybe not the junk, but
Well, obviously nutrition is important and it has been. Do you think it's gotten better in general, like the system of it, and obviously, specifically with gymnastics, has the mental side to it and the mental health side to it like gotten better? Do you think?
I think it's gotten better, but I think athletes are still struggling.
Yeah.
And like they don't really have a system or much to help. I mean, I think obviously since the scandal and Larry Nasser stuff, USA Gymnastics has really emphasized on getting mental help and working on those things, but it's still hard. I definitely think it's better, but I just think it's going to take a while for it to really change.
Like if you could implement like one or two things like to help that side of it,
right?
What would you do? Like what would have helped you when you were there, or if you were a coach there, what would help your athletes?
Right. I mean, like one, communication with my coaches.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't get that till later in life too, but like having communication with your coaches, like we used to be so like if we were hurt, it was like you can't be hurt, you can't say anything like unless a bone's sticking out or you broke your neck.
Right.
It's like it was
you
just
were
like
scared to tell them
anything
how you were feeling.
Yeah. And because
you had to
Marta's
just
like,
keep it all in.
yeah, because Marta's like, if you can't do it, you're done,
Right.
So it was like, we were pushing through injuries, pushing through things. And then it's like, it finally got a little bit to the point where it was like, okay, yeah, if you have an injury, like it's better to catch it sooner than later,
Yeah.
Before it was just like, you're going to be competing on a broken ankle. We don't care. But it's just having that communication with my coach and like having a better game plan and telling her about my body just so I could get through it made like a biggest difference. And then I think even just having a mental coach, a mental trainer, like I got one when I came back to train for the Olympics for 2020 and just made the biggest difference. Just different ways to think. Because I just used to think I knew how to get through it because that's how I did. I did it. I knew.
You would literally just power through
right.
it.
Like but it's like, no, like there's things to help.
Right.
What
are those things? I want to hear. I'm sure people listening will want to hear. Like, what are a couple things? Like, are we talking breathing and meditation,
visualization, a big one, which I used to hate.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I really worked on it and like could understand how to like use it properly, that made a big difference. And then just like different strategy techniques to even just work on stress and anxiety and things you can control and can't control in the competition. There's so many things that we overthink and it does make a big difference. And then when you get there and just really be in the moment and can control what you know how to control, I just felt more calm, peace, confidence. and all the things. But I mean, confidence is a really big thing too.
Right.
Learning how to have confidence.
And there's a way to maintain it
Right.
and develop it.
Right.
One thing that came to mind while you were talking earlier, because like, at least for me in basketball, you get these different athletes, and I've had so many teammates that are on like such different parts of the spectrum of how they can be coached and how they respond. Right. And I have some that need to be like yelled at, cussed out, nose touching the nose of the coach, like, so that, they get this fire lit under them and then they go. Right. Some respond really good to that. Others, that happens and they shut down and they become a shell of themselves. Right. It kind of sounds like you guys didn't have a choice. Like your coach was super intense, was all over you guys. I'm more on the scale of like, if I get screamed at, I get pissed.
Right.
And
just doesn't go well.
No, for me, it doesn't go well. Cause then I just start, worrying about what not to do. And as you probably heard with your mental coach, I start thinking about what not to do and what things to avoid.
Well,
and then I start doing those things.
Because then I don't listen. Then I'm not listening to them. They're like, I'm just pissed the whole rest of my workout. I'm like, you're not going to get anything from me.
Yeah. But that's what I'm asking. Could you do that? You can't do that.
I mean,
no, I'm saying you can't just shut down. Like you guys had no choice. You had to then be perfect. So how do you be perfect when like you have so much pressure and someone is riding you that hard?
See, I always think about that because I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just like literally don't know how I did it. Yeah. But I did it. I like dug down deep and found a way to just.
You just found something
did it.
Inside you.
Like, I don't know. I just like, because like with Marta, it's weird because her system worked, but it was again too abusive.
Yeah.
To the point that it's like it didn't need to be that way, but it's like we were so good and unstoppable that like we could be sick, we could hurt so bad and still be able to push through it. And I think that's just what made us so good compared to the other countries. And now, like since Marta's been gone, like when I came back and started going to camps again, obviously like there's safe sport. So coaches, can't say things or push, you know what I mean? Like you can't really get that push anymore, which in gymnastics, you kind of need that push because it's so hard that you like got to be pushed to some extent.
So precise.
Yes. And so when I went to camps, it was like weird because like girls like wouldn't do numbers of routines or they would kind of choose their own assignments. And I'm kind of like, you're not going to get anywhere if you don't do the numbers. I mean, you don't have to like kill yourself. I think it's better that we can step down a notch. But the fact that they can't like say anything or do anything anymore, I just feel like a lot of gymnasts are a lot more lazy. Or like when I go into the gym, when I go back to see my coaches and the girls at the gym, they like have attitudes, no discipline, because like they can't say anything now. Yeah. And so I'm like, because we had such good like discipline and work ethic and we were pushed so hard at such a young age, like it did make us really good.
For sure.
So it's like it's hard to like comprehend it because I'm like it was so horrible and abusive and brutal, but yet it worked. Like
right.
I don't know.
So it and I can honestly say it's sort of similar. Depending on where you're playing basketball, it's very similar. Like the power is now in the player's hands.
Yeah.
If a player says he wants to get traded, if he wants more money, if he wants to sit out because something's bothering him, but really he just wants to sit out, like no one can say anything, right? Do you think part of that, I think every sport is slowly becoming that way, like the player, which is good in a lot of ways. Like the players do need to have say. It's their bodies, it's their time, it's their sacrifice, right? They're the ones making the money for, the teams and the TV stations and all that, and the owners, like whatever. Yeah. But to a certain point, it kind of sounds like you think some of like the discipline being gone isn't a great thing. Yeah. Right.
Oh,
like
totally.
The level maybe isn't the same. Yeah. But do you think it shifted after all that stuff blew up with?
Oh yeah. Oh like yeah.
That had to be the shift.
It had to be the shift. It had to happen. I mean, it happens in every sport at some point. Swimming, dancing, skating, ice skating, all the things. But
there's some.
It's just like, I don't know. There's got to be some in between though. Right. But like I said, it might just take a while for it to kind of get back to that.
Right. Where it's like it's hard because you're saying it was like abusive, like
yes,
like
horrible.
Borderline, like mental and physical abuse. What you were going through at these camps, and to get to that level, and so it's probably hard for you to say like it kind of needs to be like that,
right?
For you to be the best. Like that's actually crazy. You're obviously highly involved with USA Gymnastics. Obviously, that goes without saying. what was that like being a part of that world and community when it all blew up?
So it was like hard because I never had, okay, sorry, slowing down.
Yeah.
So I've never had a broken bone or a surgery my whole gymnastics career, which is crazy.
That's awesome.
So I've been really fortunate, really lucky. I've had, things here and there, but, so we had Larry Nasser. I had him 2014 Worlds. That was like my first time really having him, being around him. He would come to camps sometimes, and then he would usually be at championships, which is where we compete to make the national team every year. And they would have the men's team and the women's team. It'd be a women's and men's meet. He would come to those, but usually if I was ever around him, there'd be like other trainers around, or our one trainer, Debbie, that was always at camp and always traveled with us.
Yeah.
But 2014 Worlds was when I really got to know him, whatever. Obviously super nice guy, of course, as they all say.
On the surface.
Yes. Yeah. And I was just never alone with him. So for me, we all thought he was kind of weird, and before meets and stuff, he'd always text us, and he was kind of because again, we couldn't really eat food or go get food really.
He was your plug.
So he would go get us food, and even after we won team finals, he went and got us ice cream and came to our room. And one thing that I noticed that was weird is he opens the door, so he knocks, or I open the door, sorry, and he pushes the door open and starts walking in our room
as fast
just
as he could.
Yes, walking, pacing, looking, he was looking to see if someone else was in there, I think.
Yeah.
Luckily my roommate Madison was in the shower at the time, so at least she was in the shower,
or at least
and
she
whatever
was present,
so there's little things I started to notice, but again, it's weird because I had these close relationships with all the girls on the team, and some of them had talked about it because it was happening to them, but I had no idea. So when we were 2016, we went on the Kellogg's tour. So I was alternate 2016 Olympics. We did the Kellogg's tour, and I remember Steve Penny, that was the head of USA Gymnastics, that hid all that crap and did all the crap that he did. Not a good guy. He came to the Kellogg's tour and just said, there's a lot of stuff going on right now with USA Gymnastics. We're trying to handle it the best we can, blah, 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 blah. And I was so confused. I'm like, what was that about?
Yeah, you hadn't heard anything.
Yeah. And then obviously in college, my freshman year, it all came out.
Right.
And so it made sense, but didn't, because I was like, well, I never experienced that. I didn't know this was happening. And I was really fortunate because I was not one of many that didn't get abused,
That just was never alone.
Yes. And when I was at championships one year, I was having some back pain, and the physical therapist I was seeing was the head therapist for the men's team. He's from Arizona. And so I was seeing him. So most of the time I'd go see him for therapy.
Yeah.
And one day he wasn't there, so my coach went to Larry and was like, hey, can you work on Mykayla's back, whatever?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I'll just take her back here behind the curtain. And my coach thought that was weird, so she went with me.
Oh,
and
wow.
then later that day, she was like, or a different practice, same competition, she was like, hey, can Mykayla come get therapy, after workout? And all the spots were full.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, back at the hotel, I'm doing therapy in the room, so if she wants to come.
Yeah.
And then my coach was just like,
Again.
I'm not going to send her by herself late at night to your room.
Right.
And so anyway, she was just like, oh, it's really late anyway. We'll just get therapy tomorrow,
Wow.
So there was weird things my coach noticed, but we just didn't really know. So when all that came out, it was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
But it makes sense, I don't know, with USA Gymnastics and the way we were treated and how things were handled, everybody was scared of Steve Penny. He was a scary guy. The guy that used to be ahead of USA Gymnastics, I think he was just a really, really old guy, ended up dying or retiring. Something happened. And Steve Penny, I guess, was just kind of his man that went and got him coffee. And somehow they gave him the head position.
Jeez.
So he knew nothing about gymnastics.
So he just had some lust for power.
Taking money from us athletes.
Wow.
Just horrible things. It's like we shouldn't have been at the ranch. Why were we at the ranch? We should not have been at the ranch training all those years and not getting the proper treatment.
Right. And having the proper supervision.
Yes.
And
And then him
precaution.
just hiding stuff, people came out and they were like, we'll pay you to keep quiet. Don't what is that? It doesn't have anything to do with you as a
you're not
person.
getting in
Just
trouble.
fix it.
Yeah. Right.
That's him. Get him fired. Get him out of there. I don't know what that has to do with you.
I didn't know that part. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
all the
crazy.
things. I know.
And
it's crazy.
We can finish there if you'd like, if you don't want to talk about it more. One final question.
Fine.
I do know his trial, and it all came out while you were at school.
Yeah.
It was 2017.
Yeah.
So some of the girls went and testified. So like, had you trained with them, or were you currently training with them?
Yeah, I had trained. Yeah, I mean all of them. Simone, Maggie Nichols, Allie Raised. Yeah, all of them.
That's insane.
So and I didn't even know, which I feel like it's not my place to know, but it's like, man, I wish
But you were.
I would have done like.
Right.
Come on.
But you were training with them. You were competing with them. You were one of 12. In this camp, like grueling, grinding. So many hours together. So you would have thought maybe you would have heard something.
Because we're girls. We talk about a lot of things, but I know that's really personal, and that's probably hard to like be like, this is happening to me. But I don't, it's crazy.
I mean,
it was so hard to like wrap my head around it.
Right. Obviously, silver lining is that it stopped and hopefully has improved all sports. Yeah. Right. Like the precautions taken and the trainings taken. Like, you just can't be careful enough. And it's just too bad. Yeah. It's too bad.
It's sad.
Okay, let's jump to, there's a bit of a jump. I want to kind of jump to now. Not that I'm going to jump to now and skip. I'm not going to skip. I'm not going to go from when you were 14 years old to now, because there's a lot of good stuff in the middle. What I mean is, we're going to jump to now and you're going to connect the dots. Okay. You mentioned you went to college. You went the college route, which we're going to talk about. You, two-time NCAA champion. You won 2 golds and 2 silvers. Is that right? Oh, so you don't even know. I thought you were making this face like, dude. No,
it's, I can't know. I should remember these things, so but the list just, I'm like,
it's a big list.
You're right. Yeah.
It's a big list.
It's a big list. Lots of things.
That's badass that you can say that. Sorry, the list is too big. Like, see, my list, not that big. Okay.
Hey, you're getting there.
I'm getting there.
You're on the up and up.
Probably more like the down and down. 2 golds, 2 silvers in college. Gold and a silver in the World Cup. And obviously some of these are mixed in individual, some are team.
Yes.
Gold and silver in the World Cup, 4 golds in the Pan American Championships, 3 golds and a bronze in the World Championships, and then obviously an individual silver at the Olympics in Tokyo 2020. That's a big moment. You've probably talked about it a million times. We're going to talk about it again. I kind of wanted to ask, so I've played with Team USA, not on your level. With basketball, the way it works is every 2 years there's a World Cup, and then the next, alternating with the Olympics, there's a World Cup, right?
Right.
To qualify for those, they have to win. I guess it's not really they have to win a certain amount of games. They have to qualify by winning like these group stage games, right? Uh-huh. Yeah, like you can win the World Cup and you're not qualified for the Olympics 2 years later. It's really stupid. You have to go play regionally. So for us, it's like we're playing South, Central, and North American teams. But when they go to play these games, they're in season. So the NBA players can't go play them. So like the big guns, the LeBrons and the Steph Currys and the Kevin Durants, they can't go play because they're under contract and their teams aren't going to release them in November and February.
Why?
It's really weird.
That is so crazy.
Other sports do it, like soccer in Europe. They all release their players, so the national team is always the same.
Yeah.
In basketball, they don't release their players. And so they kind of send in, I always say it's like the expendable team. They send in the guys that are like fringe, that are good players but aren't under contract like at the time. So they're very good players, but they can't be restricted by a team, so they can go. So I've gone 3 times because I'm a fringe guy.
Yeah.
And so I've played 6 games for Team USA.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't know why so many of them have been against Puerto Rico, but 2 or 3 of against Puerto Rico, Cuba, Colombia, Uruguay, and one other country. I can't even remember. Anyways, 6-0, no big deal. Don't check my stats.
I'm going to go check right after this podcast.
Absolutely, please do not. And I know you won't. But I have told everyone, I've played in the NBA. I've played in the highest leagues in Asia, in Europe, even college. Like I played in the NCAA tournament. Like I've felt pressure before, and these, seemingly dinky like qualifying games, like that we're supposed to win because it's the U.S. playing against Puerto Rico. Like, of course we're going to win. It's basketball. I've never felt more pressure. Right. Like we're expected to win because it's our sport, and we're supposed to blow everybody out, even though our team, we're just kind of thrown together and we have 5 days to get to know each other. The other team has played together their whole life, right? And it's the real team because not many of them are in the NBA. So they've been together their whole life. They're playing against us. We just met each other yesterday. We're expected to win. If we don't win, it's all over ESPN. It's the other team's best game of their life.
Right.
You know, they party like they won the Super Bowl. If we win, nobody blinks an eye. Like, nobody cares.
Right.
And like, I'm telling you, I won all the games. Nobody cares. Like, obviously, my friends and family think it's cool.
Right.
Nobody knows.
That crazy,
nobody cares.
though?
So I wanted to know, you know, I have this small taste of like what it is playing for USA. Tell me about the pressure you felt, like competing for Team USA. Like, it had to be insane because similar position, you guys are supposed to win. Like, you're the best of the best.
Right.
Right. So what's that? Or is that just something that you became acclimated to?
Because the U.S., we've just gotten to the point where we're like so good now.
Yeah.
That like I get more pressure trying to make Team USA than competing for Team USA.
Yeah.
Just because we're all so good and fighting, like not very many make it. And there's so many of us fighting for that spot compared to like other countries.
Right.
Like I was talking with Sean and we were just talking about, I was talking with Sean Johnson.
Yeah.
So I was in Nashville.
You can just say Sean.
Sorry,
I think
Sean.
at this point everyone will know.
Good.
Wait,
Okay.
who is Sean Johnson?
So Sean Johnson.
I'm just kidding.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
I'm going to beat him up after this. I'm just kidding.
I
love it. Anyway,
Go.
Sorry,
Awesome.
I just don't know, people
No,
know
I mean,
who that is, but I guess I've already said it.
You're safe. And we know you're a gymnast, so it should click.
Yeah.
If you don't know by now, you should know that she's a gymnast.
Yeah.
Mykayla is
a very good gymnast. Very, very good. So we were in Nashville for a wedding, and so we caught up with her and her husband. And so we were just like, kind of like the same thing, because like Jonas is just like, Mykayla never watches gymnastics. Like, I'll watch highlights on Twitter and like things like that. But like even growing up, like just being in it so much, I'm like, I don't care to like all the girls when we'd go to championships, they want to go sit and watch the other sessions or go watch the men compete, which like the men is really cool and I do enjoy it. But I'm just like, I'd rather like rest or go do something else,
For sure,
you know?
Yeah.
And, Sean is very, very similar in so many ways. We're literally like two peas in a pod. It's just weird. Like Jonas is like, you guys were literally like the same person. It's weird. Anyway, she was just saying the same thing. Like she doesn't care to watch it, this and that. She likes now being able to watch it through her daughter's eyes. And that's really cool to her. But just even going back to when she was in the Olympics in 2008, just like, they had so much more competition with the other countries than I feel like we do now. Obviously, at this Olympics that I was just in 2020, Simone backed out, and it was a whole mess, and it was crazy. And then Russia did end up winning, which, I feel like we still should have won, but politics reasons, and I think it was a way for them to be like, oh, another country, we can get them to win, too, which doesn't always help our case. And I think just with COVID, like the national staff we were just talking about, they're going to do everything possible because we just win so many medals and they're getting sick of it. So they want some of the other countries to win. Right. So if there's a way for them to do it, it's going to Anyway, besides that, we usually pretty much win everything. And like the girls went to Worlds after the Olympics and they won gold. Yeah. So I think we're fine. It was kind of weird, like taking silver. Yeah. Like it was kind of like watching the girls. I'm like, that stinks, because like we just know we're going to win. Yeah. But other than that, like it's just the competition isn't there with the other countries. They don't have the difficulty. Yeah. The like skill ethic or the skill level isn't there. I don't know. You just watch like Sean's Olympics and kind of before, even 2012, it was like Russia was amazing. China, like they were so competitive. Yeah. And now it's kind of like, just, like
we've taken it and run with it.
Yeah. It's just like we don't have to worry that. I mean, we do, but like don't have to worry that much. So it's just weird. Obviously, Olympics, the pressure was completely different because like we've been to Worlds and, we always win. And I'm like, I don't really feel like I get that nervous. But when an Olympic medal's on the line, it totally changes everything. Yeah. Even though I was like, oh, we could beat them. We know it's fine, whatever. We just got to go hit our stuff, do our thing. But other than that, like it's the pressure.
It's more internal.
It's more, yes, like competing in the United States against my national team is more stressful than like.
Well, and you did that. Like, so 2012, you were an inch away from being on the team. Mm-hmm. 2016, you were half an inch away from being, like you went, right, as an alternate.
Yeah. So I actually ended up 4th in the all around. Yeah. And they took 5 for the Olympic team. So they were placed 4th and 5th with like 7th and 8th. So I got put first alternate.
How does that happen?
Politics.
That math isn't working. I'm like 4 and 5 comes before 7 and 8.
Yep. And according to the rule book, you're supposed to take rank order. But Marta never did things like that.
Wow. That makes me sick. So, like, what was that like? That had to be a gut punch.
Yeah, it was horrible. I remember because when, they go out, they announce the team, and I was sitting back in the room when they were discussing the team.
Yeah.
Because we sit back there, so like you compete, you go back into this little room, the crowd's still all out there, my family's out there. They take like 20 minutes. The national staff and team is sitting there like talking about who the Olympic team's gonna be, and I did amazing. I hit 4 for 4 both days, my routines, ended up being in 4th, which pretty dang good.
Yeah, you knew, like, you were like, okay, good.
I was like, I did everything I could because I was like, I'm going to make this Olympic team. And we were just sitting in that back room, and I texted my family, and I'm like, I just had this feeling like it wasn't good enough. They're not going to take me.
You said that to them.
Well, to myself.
Yeah.
But I texted my family, and I just said, do you think I'm going to make the team? And they're just like, I don't know. Like, they were kind of feeling the same thing, but they're just like, I don't know. We'll have to see,
Even though you had come in 4th.
Even though I came in 4th.
Oh,
so right
gosh.
behind 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Number 1 and 2 automatically make it.
Yeah.
So they don't have to stress, which is nice. But just, yeah. So anyway, they replaced 4th and 5th and took 7th and 8th and put them on the team. So super devastating. They announced the team, and of course, crying. And I wasn't crying because like I was excited. I was crying because I was like, this sucks. Like, you work your whole life.
Yeah, literally.
You competed to the best of your ability. You could win medals for them, and they're like, oh, we're going to take these people instead. You
had earned it.
I'd earned it.
Yeah.
I feel like I had earned it. Like, I know they can take different people, but I'm like, that's just really not fair. So this Olympics, they took rank order, which I'm like, that's how it should be.
It should be, yeah.
But anyway, it was going to the Olympics in Rio, like, obviously with Steve Penny and the way he ran things. We weren't ever with the team. We trained in the Brazilians training facility. So we were in a whole different, we were like an hour away from the team.
Yeah, they isolated you.
Isolated us. We trained in the Brazilian training facility, which was like 20 years old, horrible. Like, equipment was so old. There was a rat living under the floor, like this big possum rat that would run into the bathroom, lick out of the toilet, like drinking out of the toilet.
That sounds like a dog, like a dog rat.
Right.
Did you guys give it a nickname?
No, we should have. They literally will put those things on a freaking stick and cook them.
Oh my!
They're like it's like a dog. They're huge. These big rats living under the floor.
I can't.
Horrible.
I'm imagining some wild things right now, like Tasmanian devil.
Well, then you just feel so bad for like the national team in Brazil that has to train like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's horrible.
Right.
And the
how
beams,
can they compete with you guys? Right.
And then the beams had like the metal sticking out, like the padding was like ripped off.
Come on.
Training for like a month and then being an alternate, and then they kept, coming back to me. Like, Marta kept saying, we're going to put her in because somebody had something going on, and then something was something else. Anyway, not going to go into detail, but Marta
kept giving you false hope.
Yes, Marta like 3 different times kept saying, we're going to put her in. And then my coach finally at one point was like, you need to freaking stop.
Yeah.
Like, you're messing with her head. You've already cheated her. We're not doing this. Like, if you're going to put her in, put her in.
Yeah.
So anyway, I ended up not getting put in, but I was working hard every single day, hitting my routines, doing all the things, but literally every night was like bawling my eyes out. And I just was like, I need to go home. Like, literally when we got to the end, I was like calling my brother-in-law, and I'm like, can you just buy me a plane ticket to come home? Or like, I can't, like, it was just hard and it was brutal. Yeah. Like, even one of the days, because I said our half a day is kind of like our day off. One of the days we had a 2-a-day workout. Or no, I think it was just a half a day workout, but the Olympic team got the day off. So they didn't even communicate with us. So they got the day off. We're at the pool at the village, like chilling, hanging out. And we're the alternates sitting here like busting our butts off. And we had to go work out and didn't get one day off. It was just like.
It just doesn't make sense why you would be treated differently, because there's a very good chance you would be switched in. Like, if someone gets hurt, you're in. So why are you being treated like this third-class citizen? Like,
terrible.
Like, you should also get a day off, because like you also need
I'm
to
also
rest.
like, our body needs. Isn't it weird in gymnastics that I'm like, we need a day off? Like, why do you think not? You got to recover at some point. You can't just go. It's wild. The whole thing's just crazy. But
that had to be hard. Also, like, at the end, like in summation of this trip, you watched them win gold.
Right.
And you should have been on that team.
Right. That was hard too. Yeah. So hard. It's hard because like you love the girls.
For sure.
You don't want to take anything away, but at the same time, you're just like, this is horrible. And that's kind of what brought me to go for 2020, because I never thought I was going to. I went to college after that. I was like, I'm done with elite gymnastics.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate the politics. I've been screwed over so many times. I'm just done with this. I want to like re-fall in love with gymnastics, enjoy it, have fun. And just kind of like when my junior year came around and I had to decide if I was going to go train or not, that like burning fire just like kept coming to me. Like when I was sitting in 2016 watching the team compete in team finals, I just was like, oh, I want to be out there. Like I should be out there right now. And so like I just like kept having those moments where I was like, I was so close, should have been there. I can do it. Why have no regrets? Let's just do it one more time. Even though I was like, do I really want to do this?
As you put
unfinished business, but I'm like, do I really want to do this? You know? Just because I knew.
Now you actually knew. Like when you signed up for it the first time, you didn't really know what it took. But now you actually knew, so it probably made you think, like, do I actually want to do this? And you did.
I did.
Like,
still don't know how I got myself to do it. Like, it's crazy.
It sounds like you just had this burning that just like kept coming back.
It kept
like
coming
you just
back.
could not push it away.
Kept coming back. And I just, obviously with being religious, I just kind of like my mission. It's just like what I needed to do. I needed to go. I needed to do it. You know, whether I made the team or not, I'm glad that I got myself to go back into the elite scene and try. You know, I was like, it's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. But they also have a new Olympic coach. Things are a little different. I'm older now. I have a good relationship with my coach. We came up with a game plan. Obviously didn't train 7 hours a day. So it was just a lot more enjoyable until obviously COVID hit. But up to that point, it was great.
Were some of those apprehensions like, dang, is the same thing going to happen? I'm going to get to the 1 yard line. I'm going to be an inch away.
Many times.
And then they're going to take it from me.
Right. Well, like even with my story, like when I came back to train for the Olympics, I called the Olympic coach because they did the 4-man team 2 event specialist spot. I called Tom. I said, can I do the event specialist spot? Because I was like, I specialize in floor and vault. If I could do that, I would love to do that. Then do like all 4 events. Because I'm an all-arounder, but not. Sometimes I'm good at all around, but it's not my specialty. And so he goes, oh, well, Jade, so we qualified 1 spot, and then we ended up qualifying the 2nd spot. So some countries didn't even get the 2 event specialist spot. They just got the 1. But from winning worlds and stuff, we qualified for 2.
Oh, cool.
And so with one of the spots, Jade Carey, which she's also from Arizona, she had gone to several meets and was competing to buy in to qualify for one of those spots. And so she was winning those meets and was already almost qualified in. So she didn't have to compete at Olympic trials. She got the spot. She gets to go. And so she's good at floor and vault. Then you have Simone that's good at floor and vault. And then there's the 2 per country rule at the Olympics. So out of the top 8 finalists, the top 2 from the U.S. can only make it in out of the top 8. You can't have more than 2.
Right.
So that's 3 of us.
Even though the other 6 are probably better than...
Yeah. So like even like if we placed... Like we were at Olympics and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 USA people, they're only going to take the top 2 that get to go in the top 8.
That's wild.
So it's like, so anyway, Tom was like, we're just going to do, Jade gets that spot and then we'll take someone for bars and beam for the other 2 events. So he's like, we want you for all around.
Right.
So I came in, did all around. And then even at like Olympic trials, I placed 5th.
Yeah.
So I was 4th day 1. Day 2 ended up in 5th by like half a tenth. So me and Grace were like a tenth away from each other.
Yeah.
And same kind of thing. I knew he was probably going to take rank order, which was fair. But then I'm like, well, they're not going to take me for individual, so I guess I'm alternate again, Yeah. And then they ended up coming out and were like, Jade Carey and Mykayla Skinner, event specialists. I'm like, what? I get to go. But then it sucked because you're pinning Jade and I against each other.
Right.
So it was like, because again, the U.S. is so good. We're like all, and it's just like, anyway, I'm grateful, but just kind of sucked because I was like, went for the team, was doing really well. And I still feel like even at Olympic trials, I should have placed higher, but politics reasons too. But, I went out there and did the best that I could, and that's all I could ask for. And they let me go. So, I got to do it for myself, which was so cool.
I mean, it worked out this time. It sounds like you also had a mental coach this time around.
Yes.
You had a better sort of journey to prep.
Yes,
so like
much
your
better.
Mind state had to be in a much better place.
Yeah,
you weren't sneaking
I went gluten free.
Oh wow,
I did. I had my cheat days on the weekends, but I went gluten free,
and
I
just
actually
ate all gluten.
Yep, yeah, all gluten.
Just hamburger.
Go to
buns.
freaking In-N-Out. Yep.
Yeah.
So good.
Okay. You were like, oh yeah, and it worked out. Working out was you won like an individual silver medal, which is insane. So now I want to hear the rest of the story. I want to hear all of it.
Oh, there's a lot. I feel like a lot to it. I mean, obviously with Olympics being postponed. So when I first came back, I had 3 months to train to get ready for classics. And I was able to like get most of my stuff back in 3 months, which no one's really ever been able to do before, especially going college back into elite and just being older.
But they called you the grandma.
The grandma.
What's up with that? That's messed up. Grandmas are cool. They were not using it like a cool term. You were just old for the sport, though.
I'm just old.
But I
did get to become that mama
16.
figure for the younger girls, which was fun.
Super cool.
But like, why am I called the grandma? You know?
Yeah, just the mom would have been fine.
Right?
I love grandmas, first of all.
Right, but then they're just making me like feel like I look old too.
Right.
You know? Not just like feel old.
And you were how
being
old?
Being older. 24.
24. You're like, I'm not old.
Right. But
I'm barely older than you guys.
Yeah. But then in gymnastics, that's like old, which is weird. Yeah. So crazy.
This team that I was on this last year, we had a 17-year-old that was turning 18. I'm 28.
Okay.
A 17-year-old who turned 18 during the year. We had like 4 18-year-olds, a couple like they were really young, 19-year-olds.
That's crazy.
And the first time I met one of them, who just got drafted, he's with the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is like my favorite story about him. Funniest guy ever. He's from Canada. Not that has anything to do with it, but it kind of does. I get on this bus, and the boys are in the back of the bus talking about girls. You know? We're in Vegas, and they had met a bunch of girls. We all just got to town, and they were excited because they could go hang out with them. And I think they saw me, and I was kind of eavesdropping, and then this kid, Leonard, goes, "You have a girl?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've been married 7 years, and I have a kid." He goes, "Damn." Like, you just couldn't believe how old. I mean, that's a real age difference, though. 10 years.
Yeah.
You were just 4 years, or no, like 6. Some of them.
I mean, some of them, this was like the oldest team we've had in a while. So some of them were like 20, 18.
Not that
18
much younger.
and older, yeah.
Okay, so talk about at a certain point with these trials and going to the Olympics, I'm sure there was a scare with COVID.
Yeah.
You probably thought like, oh, of course, just my luck. The one time, like now I'm actually on the team, but it's going to be canceled because of COVID. But then there was a point where you thought you were done, and then you obviously weren't.
Yeah.
Let's go to there.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, all the things.
All the things.
But yeah, I mean, well, COVID happened, and then we didn't know if the Olympics was going to be postponed.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And so then obviously they finally say it's postponed, wasn't canceled. Because then I had to decide, am I going to keep going? Do I go back to school? What do I do? Like, do I want to do this for longer?
Right.
You know, I was like, oh, just a year. I can do a year.
You had enough juice for like that amount of time.
I was like peaking right when I needed to. And then of course it all just, psh. So then I'm just like, okay, I'm going to stay. I'm going to do it. And I was like, okay, now I get more time to train. I get to add difficulty. I get to do all the things that I maybe wouldn't have gotten to do with just a year. And I still got to work out when a lot of gyms were closed. Arizona gave me permission to be in the gym by myself.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So I was still, it was hard. It was cool, but like sucked at the same time because I'm like, everyone's getting a break right now. And I'm sitting here busting my butt in the gym, you know? But anyway, I ended up getting a bone spur injury. So I had a huge bone spur in the back of my heel that rubbed against my Achilles tendon. And so we ended up going to the doctor, found out I had the bone spur. So then they thought maybe just like shaving it down. But then he was like, I think you've always had this and you just kind of developed that over time through gymnastics.
It's just bugging you right now for whatever reason.
Yeah. And so he's like, let's just do PRP injection, shockwave therapy, get the inflammation down, which I did and it worked. But that was like the longest time I've ever had off of gymnastics, you know? Right when I start to come back from that, I get hit with COVID. And I had COVID so bad that I was out for like 3 weeks. Oh. And then I just kind of start going back into the gym and I felt really sick again. Like I was like, I think I'm getting COVID all over again. And my sister gets on the phone with me. She's like, because I got sent home from practice because I had a temperature and they're like, you need to go home. Yeah. And I'm calling my sister in the car bawling because at this point I'm just like, I got to be getting my routines together. Like classics is coming up. This is just awful.
Like this is crunch time.
Yeah. I'm like, of course this would happen. And you know, now I don't even know if the Olympics is going to happen at this point. So anyway, she's like, go to the hospital. You have pneumonia. So my husband was out of town. My parents take me to the hospital. I had pneumonia, but thankfully they caught it early enough that I was only out for like 10 more days, but just trying to get back up to where I was,
Right.
like
10 more
couldn't
days is a
breathe.
lot.
My endurance was terrible.
Yeah.
So that was really the longest time I've ever been at a gym. So I feel like that I didn't know how to handle, because my
Right.
whole life I haven't really been seriously injured.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, how do I do this? Like
Right.
I don't know
What
how
do
to
I do?
come back.
How can I sit still?
Yeah.
And then how do I come back?
Right. I'm like, this is horrible. Like, I've never been in so much pain and my body being so weak. And anyway, the whole thing. So that was really hard. I felt like giving up. And then I just took it one day at a time, changed my attitude. I said, I've never let anything stop me before. I can do it. Like, I'm going to do this. So worked really hard, went to classics. We all kind of struggled, went to championships, got like 8th in the all around. So I did okay, but didn't do that great. And I was like, if I'm going to make this team, I got to be in the top 5 at least, you know, like, so busted my butt for the next 2 weeks, went to Olympic trials, obviously told my story, made the team, but the individual spot. And then we get to Tokyo, and the first day is prelims. So prelims is like really important. That's where you qualify for everything. So individual, team, all around. And that was like so nerve-wracking. That was horrible. I felt so sick to my stomach. And then we don't even have a crowd in the arena, which sucked.
That had to be
no
super weird.
family. And I do really well off of pressure, and I like feed off the crowd. And so that was just like, it was weird.
It was just a high pressured practice.
Yes. So weird.
Yeah.
But anyway, the 4-man team goes up on every event before Jade and I go. Floor was the first event, and Jade has a little bit higher difficulty than me. So I was like, if she, hits her floor routine, she'll probably make it with Simone. So the scores come up, Jade and Simone locked in. And so then we go to vault, and I'd beaten Jade on vault all year. I was doing really well. I was like, okay, I got this, I go up on vault, put tons of pressure on myself, hit my vaults, but they just were not very good.
Not crisp.
Yes. And then Jade goes up and just freaking nails it. And I'm just like, oh, this
Jade,
sucks.
come on.
I know. I mean, I'm so glad you did good, but
no, but yeah, it's
like
so
frustrating. Like, it's just like, I know. Cause anyway, I keep bumping
you said
this
all you
using
said
my
all
hands.
year, like all year,
like all that year.
was
Yeah. I was
expected. You're like, this is my thing. This is where I'm going to get in.
Yeah. And so anyway, I go up anyway, sorry.
She goes
I'm getting
up, she nails
distracted.
it.
She nails it. And then the scores come up, and Jade and Simone made it in, and I just start bawling. Like, I was just like, this sucks, I mean, obviously not every Olympian goes to the Olympics and medals, but I was like, I knew I was retiring after this. This was my like one last shot, and like vault was like my one ticket to possibly medal.
And you knew you were good enough.
Yeah.
And that you had put in the work.
Right. And it's like I could have competed because I was still third.
Right.
But I didn't,
What, like at that point or at any point, did you just think like, this is just not meant to be?
Yeah. And I mean, through my whole gymnastics, I've had so many trials. Again, I've been politics. I've been screwed over so many times. And for some reason, I just kept doing it, kept sticking.
Going.
Yeah, I kept going. And I just don't know, like,
wow.
Obviously there was a reason, but I just kept being screwed over, and I just like, I don't know how much more I can take.
Yeah.
And so just like being in that moment, like I was so grateful I was at the Olympics, but I look at my coach and I was just bawling, and I'm just like, I can't finish. I don't want to finish the meet. I can't do it. Like, this is just awful, and anyway, and just everything was just hitting me at once. And I was the cameras, of course, were like, trying to like, oh, she's crying. And I'm like,
let's get her
I'm
at
like,
her
I just need
lowest
a moment. I need a moment. And so I didn't want the girls to see me crying, because I don't want like any negative energy, or, I just was trying to be positive, even though I felt like, I don't know. And usually in a meet you get pissed off and it sucks. But like at the Olympics, like it just hit so, like it was just horrible. Like I just felt so, like it was just like my life's over. Yeah. So anyway, we go to bars. I was like, I don't even freaking care at this point. Like, I was like, I'm just going to finish. I'm here at the Olympics, and I'm going to do this, So I go to bars and beam are like not my good events. So I get up, and I just was like not nervous. And I think because of not being nervous, I had the best bar routine of my life.
Yeah.
I didn't like have all the pressure, stress. Because at this point I was like, I was like, whatever. Over. So did my best bar routine, go to beam, nail my freaking beam routine. Like, it was incredible. I'm like, I couldn't have asked for a better Olympics. Like, even though I didn't medal, like that was the coolest experience. I hit 4 for 4 and did the best that I could do. And so obviously we get back to our room that night, and of course shedding tears and just calling my family and like, why does this have to happen again? Like, this just sucks. And I'd gotten down on my knees and I just prayed, and I just kept like asking, like, why does this have to happen? Like, why again? Like, I know I got to go to the Olympics, so I shouldn't be complaining, but it's just like, this isn't how I wanted it to end.
Yeah.
And so this small voice kept saying, it's not over yet. It's not over yet.
Wow.
I'm like, it's freaking over. Like, it's over. It happens every time I've been through it. And I think that's why I've been able to get through it. It's from all the trials I've been through. Like, the next day I was just kind of like over it. Cause I'm like, okay, like I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to move on with life. Like, it is what it is. And my coach came to me and said, hey, do you want to see if we can leave early? And I said, yes, I want to stay with my team and watch team finals.
Right.
But I don't, I just want to support the team and then we can go.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'll talk to Tom. Tom says, okay, that's fine. So they buy me a flight. Team finals was 2 days after this. And of course I'm staying up late, can't really sleep and eating whatever, eating the
chilling.
Dessert, like just hanging out, like
going
I'm done.
Crazy on the hotel chocolate cake.
I'm like, this is nice, And so we go to team finals, we're watching, and Simone goes up on vault, gets the twisties.
Yeah.
And Jade and I are just like, what the heck just happened?
Yeah.
Like, did that just happen? So we go down into the athlete lounge, we're getting some drinks, we're talking to each other. And Jade's like, does this mean I'm going to have to go in for all around? I was like, does this mean I'm going to have to go in for vault? And I was so over it at this point. Like, I was ready to go home, see my family.
Yeah.
I came to terms with everything.
You actually didn't want to do it.
Yeah. And my body was so tired and like not, because I didn't work out for 2 days after all that high stress and then coming down after that. It was like hard to like be like, oh, now I got to get back into it.
Wait, sorry. I have to ask, what are the twisties?
Oh, so the twisties, yes.
You're talking gymnastic jargon.
Yeah. So the twisties is sometimes when you're flipping in air, you get lost. And then it just messes with your brain.
You're almost like...
It gets like...
The calibration is off.
So then usually like some girls can bounce back from it really fast, or it might just kind of happen and then you go back and you might be nervous to go again.
Yeah.
And I've never had it, but I've seen girls in my gym have it.
Right.
So I've seen it.
Right.
I'm trying to think. So normally when that happens, you kind of got to go back like onto the foam pit and go back to like a basic. Okay, can I do a full?
And then just
can I do a
really
1.5? And kind of just get your brain like wiring to function again. And of course, at the Olympics, we don't have equipment like that.
And you don't have
everything's
time,
hard surface.
Either.
Yes, yeah. And so Simone did try, but Anyway, so that's the twisties.
Right. So now it's been 2 days. You've been kind of chilling, eating chocolate cake.
Yes. Yeah. And so
your words, not mine.
Yeah. That's okay. All the chocolate cake.
Yes.
I don't think I had chocolate cake, but we'll say chocolate cake.
Chocolate cake.
Chocolate cake's good.
So and then you're thinking, wait.
Yeah. So we're like,
back in?
Yeah. So I'm like, whatever. So then Lisa texts me. She's like, you need to get back up here right now. They changed your flight tickets. You might be going in for vault. So apparently that night, or when Simone just vaulted, she ran to her coach, Cecile, and said, you need to tell him to change Mykayla's flight right now. She needs to stay.
Wow.
And so I think at that moment she knew like she wasn't even going to try vault again.
Yeah.
Like she just couldn't go there.
Yeah.
So she never even tried vault again. She did try the other events, during the time being of individual events. But anyway, so that night we get to our room and Simone just texts me and says, you're going in for vault. And I like, there's no one else I'd rather go in for vault for me than you. Like, you deserve this.
That's cool.
So it was like that still small voice that was saying it's not over yet.
Yeah.
Like God was watching over me the whole time and just knew that like, this is how it was supposed to happen. And it was so cool. And I just felt so blessed, so grateful. And it was like, I mean, I felt bad for Simone because to give up those medals, like that sucks. But the way that she responded to it, I got to go in and then I got to compete in vault finals and I ended up in second and took home the silver. So
took home an Olympic medal.
I know.
And your business was then finished.
It was finished.
Like full circle. Like tell me that moment as detailed as you can remember. Like walk me through finishing the routine and then going up on the podium and getting a medal. Like that's a feeling that 0.00000 to infinity 1% of people will ever feel. Right. What was that moment like? Walk me through that.
Yeah. So obviously I was first on vault out of the 8. Yeah. So I had to sit there and watch like all the scores come in.
Yeah.
I was like, this is horrible. This is horrible.
But you felt good.
I felt good. Yeah. I was like, I know I could be in like the top 3, you know? So I was like, anyway, so then the scores all finish and they put up, because I don't remember. There was a girl from Russia, I think, that went last. But once it all tallied in, they, do the with the bars, on the screen. And I ended up in second. And so it was like so cool. I was like, oh, I'll take that. Like second, that is awesome.
Right.
I'm like, the silver's pretty cute. I like gold, but
I have more
silver's
things that'll
pretty
go
cute.
with
Yeah,
silver.
it's pretty cute. So anyway, I was just like so stoked, and I was like, this is like the coolest experience ever. Like every medal I've won doesn't even compare, you know?
Right.
And it was funny because Simone was like, you weren't even crying. And I was like, I'm tired of crying. Like, I just was so happy.
Right.
Like,
finally,
right.
tears of joy,
Yes,
but they
I was
didn't come
like,
this time.
Yes, they didn't. I just couldn't cry. I was like, I have no more tears to shed.
Yeah.
And so just standing up there was like, it was so, I mean, again, it was hard because no one was there. So it was like weird, like being like, I did this cool accomplishment. Like my family couldn't be here to like in person to see it. But at the same time, it was like, it wasn't even about the medal. It was about what I did to get it, what I did to get there. You know, all that hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, dedication,
Literally.
time that I spent. You know what I mean? Just because you never know if you're going to get there, and all that work and for nothing. Sometimes you feel like, even though I feel like whatever happens in life, you still end up finding your path and your way.
It's never for nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, it was incredible.
I have to think that it would have been hard not having your family and friends there, but also you probably got to kind of like internalize it and digest it, like what had just happened, like
Well, it
how
still doesn't
full
even
circle,
feel real.
Right. But maybe you had a little bit of time, I don't know, because normally you would
That's
have
what
been
I
mobbed,
thought.
you would have been
Oh,
mobbed
yeah.
by people.
Yeah, that's
It would have
true.
been maybe a party, but you're saying you haven't even been able to
I
process
still don't
it.
feel like it. It was
Really?
like,
you don't feel like it was real.
no, I'm like, did I do that? Especially like I just retired right after the Olympics. Like a lot of these girls now went to college. They're coming back for the next one.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like, I just like was done.
Yeah.
And so right after the Olympics, my husband and I, we had 1 week. We moved back to Utah because we had to finish school.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, I didn't even get to like say bye to
You're just back to
everybody,
life.
like hang out, you know, enjoy the moment. It was like, we packed the house, left, and then I started school, and then I got pregnant. So it's like, I just feel like I've been like, go. It just hasn't even like sunk in.
Still
And now
hasn't
that I'm
hit
not
you.
doing gym,
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm like on this whole other different chapter of life that it's
Right.
like,
That's
I don't know.
wild.
It's weird.
It's just been a rush, for 3 straight years.
Yeah.
I have to ask, where do you keep your medal? Because I'd be wearing it around the clock.
I'm like, do I want to tell people this? No, I'm just kidding. It's just in
Just don't say your address.
Yeah, it's just in my house in a drawer.
You're kidding.
That's it.
Can we like sponsor like a plaque or something?
I know. I need to. It's just our house. Like we just have like 3 bedrooms.
Yeah.
And there's not really room. Like I want to.
You
when
wanna
I
have, like,
build
an
a house,
like
I
an
want to have like
office
a
or like a
thing
lair.
to put all the things, you know.
All the
Like I
medals.
still have like all my trophies and NCAA stuff. Like it's all at my mom's house.
You could just melt them all down to one and make a super medal.
Can you do that?
No, I'm just kidding. I don't
That
know.
would be sick.
I mean, maybe.
The Olympic medal's just in the middle and all the other ones are melted around it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you
That-
know.
That could be something. That might be an idea. So this is the other part of this, right? A big part of this podcast is the other side, right? You then retired. You were done, and you went back to school, which has to be
It was hard.
atypical. Also, right? I can't imagine a lot of athletes that just finished getting a medal,
Right.
especially in gymnastics, just like jump right back into school.
Right. Well, and then it's hard because like there was a lot of things I wanted to do and I couldn't. So I was on scholarship at Utah.
Yeah.
And they offered to pay for my last year, even though I wasn't doing gym, and which was awesome. So I'm like, okay, well, I gotta finish, you know,
Right.
just a year. But then it was hard because like I wanted to do Dancing with the Stars and I wanted to do all these things, and I feel like I just missed out on some opportunities, especially because for me, I'm not still doing gym. So it's not like I'm going to get all those sponsors and all
Right.
those things and
be in that
and
same
get my
spotlight.
name still. Yeah. Like it kind of was just like kind of over really fast. I feel like
Yeah.
just because then I just was busy doing school, and I did do things here and there.
Yeah, but you're like,
just,
do I go all in on school or do I
right. Or
capitalize
kind of like,
on like
yes, like have,
who
because I
am
don't
right
get
now?
that forever. Like
Right.
that's not going to be around forever.
Yeah.
And so I ended up finishing school, which I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
I needed to. I mean, I feel like that's important because I never know when I'm going to need that one day.
Right.
And anyway, so that was a weird transition too, because like I wasn't an athlete. I'm like, this is weird being on campus and having time to like do my homework and do stuff, you know?
Actually try.
Yeah.
What did you finish school in?
Communications and journalism to
Yeah.
do sports broadcasting.
Cool. Do you think you'll do that? Do you think you'll use
I
that?
wanted to, and then I was going to commentate. I did for Red Rocks preview. So before season started, I did a little commentating with the Pac-12.
Yeah.
And then Tom, the Utah coach, was working to get me, because I wanted to shadow more and just kind of know how it works before I just like jumped into it.
Right.
Because I'm like, I don't really feel like I know that well.
Yeah.
And I was going to go for the last 2 meets, but I was so sick with being pregnant that I just like, I couldn't do it. And so at this point, I've just kind of been like, I don't know. Because now I have a baby coming and I would like to be a stay-at-home mom, but it would be cool to still be involved with gymnastics and do that on the side.
Right.
But I feel like if I need to do that, like I should do it now. But then I'm also like, I'm having a baby and I just want to like be with my baby, you know? So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what
the
future holds. But.
I mean, I think to me, it's just a matter of when, not if. Like you'll be commentating, right?
Yeah.
Because of your experience as an athlete, because of the ups and downs that you've gone through, right? I mean, you have your own podcast, which we're going to get to later. So like you do have experience doing this. You also have a degree that supports it. Like it's going to happen. You just need to figure out exactly where it fits in to your life and your lifestyle, which I think is super cool. Because there's like a lot of athletes, and a big reason I started this podcast is because there's so many athletes that just think, you know, they want to go all in, which like you have to. Mm-hmm. But you kind of also have to not go all in, right? You kind of have to, totally. Like you said, how many things you wish you would have been into, right? And maybe nowadays there is this shift, and you can, like even in gymnastics, which might be the most extreme. Like now, after hearing your story, it might be the most extreme.
Basketball's lame, you guys.
No,
just kidding.
never lame, but not as intense. Like the intensity that you guys like go through is insane. But it sounds like maybe it's gotten a little bit better, where there's a little bit better balance. Like, do you think that's gonna, like, do you think that balance is important? Like, can you go all in, but also, you know, be more complete on other parts of your life too?
Oh, totally. For sure. I mean, especially coming back into the scene of it.
Right.
I was able to balance it better.
How'd you do that? Like, what else did you get into?
Well, one, I was married.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that, like, I always feel like that makes such a big difference. Because, like, again, so many athletes, like, they just, like, retire or they're done and they're like, well, now what?
Right.
You know? And I was just married, and I just felt like I kind of was able to, like, do life, like, as I was doing gymnastics. You know, like, I don't know how to explain it.
No, well,
but, like,
let me explain it for you. No, I'm just kidding.
He knows. He knows.
No,
he's a dad.
I've had this conversation so many times where one of our first guests, he just put it this way. He was like, when you wear different hats, right? It just makes these transitions easier, and it makes life easier because you're a wife and you're soon to be a mom, and you're a college graduate, and you're a communications major. You're a this, you're a that, you're a neighbor, you know, like all these things stack up, and you become stronger, you know, like pulled into like different communities, like a little bit stronger. And so then you can lean on those things. Yeah. Like when you're having a bad day as a gymnast, you're also a wife.
Right. And I have my husband, and I have
like you have these different hats that you're wearing. And so it sounds like a big part of this transition has been a little bit easier because you are married and because you did finish school. So like you do have things that are balancing out like this huge focus of your life for so long, which was gymnastics.
Right. And you know, like I get it. Like I know a lot of athletes, sports are everything.
Right.
And to me, like if I was an Olympian or not, like there's so much more to life than sports, athleticism. Like I feel like so many people get so caught up in it and then they're done and they're like, I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
And it's like, live life. Like this is your time that you get to enjoy it. Like since I've retired, I have like loved it.
Yeah.
Which is so weird. Everyone's like, you're going to miss it. And we're like almost 3 years in from the Olympics. And I'm like, I haven't missed it once. Like I haven't even gone into a gym and flipped.
Not a single day.
Not a single day.
You haven't missed it?
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was
older.
Because you laid it all out there.
And I was older. And yes, I did end on a good note.
Right.
So I feel like that definitely helps in my case. But sports weren't everything to me. Even though like I had dreams and goals and ambitions and I was able to achieve those, I just feel like even if I would have just done college gymnastics and not even gone back for the Olympics, like I feel like I still would have been fine, satisfied. Like I get to start a new chapter, a new journey. Mm-hmm. And even though it's hard, like look at what you did. I'm struggling. Sorry.
We're blaming this one on the headphones. You're not struggling. The headphones were a little big.
That's okay. I got a small head. It's all right.
We'll tighten them up.
A little big sometimes, but anyway. But I feel like with being an athlete, like you've already achieved and accomplished so much. So what's so scary about like achieving that in the real world
Right.
and finding something else.
Right.
You know, like sometimes I feel like these athletes just sit here and are like, I don't know what to do with my life. My life is miserable. It sucks because I'm not in sports anymore. But it's like, you have so much ahead of you.
Yeah.
So much.
Most
like,
of your life.
explore it.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Enjoy this. Like, don't be sad you're not in college anymore doing it. I'm like, yeah, college sports were fun, but I'm like, they're not everything.
Right.
Like, I'm like, let's go. Let's
There's-
move on.
there's other fun
yeah,
things.
there's other fun things in
So,
life.
okay. So what is your advice? You're just saying enjoy life. Like, I want to hear specific like ideas or thoughts on that, like to young athletes that want to be something, right? Which is great, right? The numbers are against them. Some of them will be great. Some of them won't. Some will end in high school. Some will end in college. Some won't have very long pro careers. Like, it's just inevitable.
Yeah, right.
You know,
right.
you thought you were done multiple times. I have told my wife I'm done multiple times. Like that time in China, I was saying, like Christmas Day, I was like, I called my wife. I was like,
Can't
I
do
not
this.
only need to leave China, I need to never touch
Yeah.
basketball again, right? And
Yeah.
that's 3 years ago, and here I
It
am.
happens, yeah.
So like, what's your advice to young athletes? Because they're going to have so much time on the other side as professionals. A lot of them are going to make more money after their career. Most of them, not a lot of them. 99% of them. 99% of them are going to be working in another field for way longer than they did in athletics. So how do they start preparing now, like at a young age, to be ready for that, like later, like a little bit earlier?
Yeah.
How do you start earlier?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, obviously social media is such a big tool we can rely on.
Yes.
And
I'm
that
glad
has
you
just
brought
helped
that
a
up.
lot. Like, we started YouTube.
Right.
We're doing a podcast now. Just like different things, and like just keeping yourself relevant, I think is the biggest thing. Like, I don't do social media a ton because I hate it and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I feel like just keeping myself relevant and giving me the opportunities that I need to maybe veer in different areas or do different things.
Yeah.
And then I think just kind of having a game plan. I know at a young age it's hard to know what you want to do,
Right.
but just have a few game plans. You know, write in a journal, write out what you want to accomplish, maybe what you want to do. My husband does that all the time, and I feel like he's so good at being able to like be like, oh, I can do that. I accomplished that. I did it.
Yeah.
But actually doing it, not just writing it down and then not accomplishing it.
Like,
you
write
know?
it down, but then also the steps that are going to help you
Yes, to
actually
get there.
do it. Right.
Yeah. I don't know. Just the little things. But
I think that's great.
I think for me, it's hard because for me, I like feel bad because I like want to be able to help people more and like transitioning out of that. But for me, it was just, I feel like so much easier, you know, again, being married, and I just got to do life, and, you know, my husband works and I do work and I do things, but it's nice to be able to like kind of be able to enjoy life, which some people might have to go and get a job and work really hard and, you know, have to pay bills and all these things. But, I say just take time for yourself, take it one day at a time, and just do what you love to do.
Yeah. I mean,
Best thing you can do.
You say it's hard for you to help, and you don't have good advice, but
Yeah.
that's great advice. Like, you are doing so much.
I
Again, like, I hate to harp on this so much, but like, you just won a silver medal in the Olympics, and then you were sitting in some dinky class like weeks later, like being told by some teacher like what to do, you know, like,
Literally
but you
crying.
did it. But you
I
did
did
it. Like, it was hard, and your emotions were probably all over the place at that point. But you did it, and you finished school, and you started getting internships and shadowing, and you're capitalizing on your platform, building a YouTube channel and an Instagram and a podcast. Like, those are creative outlets. Like, those are businesses. Those are things that you're doing. And so you say your transition is easy, but that's because you're doing stuff. Like,
That's true. That's
you're doing
true.
stuff.
I am.
And
I'm
that's
still
like,
working hard.
Of course.
Still accomplishing things.
All those
but-
things are hard to do.
Right.
And so, like, anyone listening, I hope, hears like about and starts thinking about like a creative outlet, for example, or starts thinking about going to school and finishing and toughing it out, even if, you know, sports is their priority right now. Like,
And
you can do both, and you should do both.
Yes. And honestly, being pregnant is way worse than doing gymnastics. It's been way harder, I feel like,
That's beautiful.
which is hard because gymnastics is tough.
Yeah, we
But
heard
this
about
is
how
like
hard it was.
a whole different toughness,
No, I
mentally and physically.
My wife has been through it twice. Obviously, just recently we had our second, and both times, I mean, obviously the whole pregnancy, the whole time I'm just feeling useless, first of all, because I'm just like,
there's not much you can do.
Yeah,
like, you
we're
can,
not
but
seahorses.
it's not,
I can't take the baby over and carry him for a little. But like, I think women and mothers are incredible for what their body goes through, and the way you guys are able to just bounce back, and like it's insane. Like, even just watching from the sidelines is insane. So like, I do not doubt when you say that being pregnant is harder than gymnastics. Like that, just to put into perspective for all the moms out there, like you guys are crushing it.
Crushing it. And I mean, I have nieces and nephews, and I've seen my sisters become moms, but I didn't really realize it till now becoming a mom.
Yeah.
How awesome moms are.
And you have the mom summit now that you're
Mom
involved
Summit.
in, which is, are there any other events that you're involved with like that?
No.
Just that.
I have my own gymnastics meets.
Oh, cool.
That I do. There's 3 that go on in 1 year. So they'll start up in January next year.
Those are here in Utah?
No, they kind of do like a tour. So there's a couple of us, like Lori Hernandez has one, Maggie Nichols. We all have like our own meets. It's called the Never Give Up with Mykayla Skinner Invitational.
Yeah.
And so they kind of just rotate them through different states. So like
Very cool.
Other teams that live in their state can come and get to experience athletes and high-level athletes. Yeah, and we get to be on the floor with them and talk with them and inspire them, which I never had that as a kid.
It's like one-on-one like mentorship from someone that did it.
Yeah.
At the highest level.
So it's really cool. So I have those. And then I have the Mykayla Skinner Foundation.
Yep. Tell us about that.
So
super cool.
Thanks. So I was trying to think if I wanted to do a foundation, especially with the meets, because I do a lot of clinics with LR Productions, and they're the ones that put on my meets. And I go and do these clinics throughout the summer where these gyms will raise money for different charities. And I get to be kind of like the special guest that comes in and meets with them, and they raise all this money. And so I kind of was like, I kind of want to start like my own foundation. I'm like trying to think. My brain, it's so bad. I can't remember. So I'm doing kids with disabilities.
Kids with cancer.
Kids with cancer.
Yep.
And then I feel like something else that I can't remember. My brain, it's been a while since I've been like doing gymnastic stuff because I've been pregnant and all the things. But I mean, I had disabilities growing up. I had a learning disability. And so I just had a hard time with comprehension and remembering things and different things. I was born dead, so they don't know if that could have caused something. But
I'm sorry,
crazy story. I know. I know.
I'm sorry.
Skipped that way at the beginning, but
yeah, I said start from the beginning, and you skipped over that.
Sorry, I was born dead. My mom had me when she was 40 and was rushed into emergency C-section.
Oh my gosh!
And I was black and blue. They didn't think they were going to be able to revive me, and they did. And then they were going to close my mom up, but she was bleeding inside, and so the doctor just was like, "We shouldn't close her up." He just was like, "I don't think we should close her up yet." And if they would have, she would have bled to death, and she would have died. So anyway, we survived. And anyway, so I just have a little bit of a learning disability, and school's hard, like getting through school. That's why I was like, I don't want to finish my last year of school, but I did it. And so we can do hard things. If we work hard and put our mind to it, anything is possible. I don't remember. Oh yeah. So anyway, with my foundation, I just want to go back to people with disabilities and kids with cancer. My niece had a retinoblastoma when she was newly born. Her eye went black and blue. She had a tumor, and they had to take out her eye, so she has a prosthetic eye. So just different things that hit close to home.
Yeah, hit close to home, and like you felt those feelings, so you're able to help others navigate through that, which is really cool. I'm just like, you skipped over so much, and you're like, oh yeah, this transition's been easy. Like you're doing so much, and I have to, like, we're so grateful that you came on, because anyone listening that's into athletics like has to see that the balance is necessary, and it's also possible. I mean, also me personally, you're inspiring me to do more off the court, because I left school early. I left BYU early.
Oh, did you?
I had done about 3 years 3 years of school in the 2 years that I played there.
Oh, wow.
But I left early. And
now you got to go back and finish.
So I have been. I've taken about a class every year I've been gone. I've been playing professionally for 6 years.
Okay.
I've taken usually about a class every year. That's how long it takes me.
Okay. Hey, that's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing, but I am absolutely at a standstill with the class that I'm in right now. It's like a business ethics class. And it's going to kill me, or I'm going to kill it. But you're inspiring me. I'm going to do it.
You can do it.
I'm going to log back on. It's been a couple months. I'm going to do it.
Do it. What are you majoring in?
Business management.
Okay, that's my husband.
Yeah.
And he still has kind of like a semester left. So I think he's going to do it. But when the baby comes, I'm like, That's a horrible time to finish.
Yeah,
but same
yeah.
thing. It's just hard. He has a
There's
job.
never
He
a good
works.
time. There's never a good time to finish.
He doesn't need
and I think
it
your story
right
is
now,
is showing that you need to, right?
Yeah, it's important.
So I'm gonna look at this.
Sorry, I've been talking forever.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
I have my outline of questions.
Oh, good.
After I
Okay.
did all my digging.
Sometimes he'll check his phone and I'm like, your story's so good. He's not disinterested. He's just
Yeah.
blown up by us.
Okay.
I mean, there were parts I was disinterested, but
It's okay. It's
for the
pretty
most
boring.
part, it was pretty good. So we're gonna, for the sake of time, I think rapid fire is appropriate. We're just gonna ask you a couple quick questions.
Okay.
Kind of let the audience get to know you on a personal level. Not that they
I don't even
already.
feel like I know myself, so we'll see how this goes.
That should be the intro to the episode. I don't even know
Sometimes
myself.
I feel like people know more about me than I know about myself, and I'm like,
That's got to be weird.
Interesting.
That's got to be weird.
It's weird.
Especially when they get it wrong.
Right.
I made this a point of emphasis because I've been interviewed a lot, right? High school, college, and pro. It's just part of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And and so I really hope I didn't ask anything that was incorrect.
No.
Because I hate when someone asks me, they're like, oh, so this happened and then this happened. And I'm like, that's not me. There was one time I went to the NBA Combine right after college. It's like they take 60 of the best players and they put you through all the testing that teams are going to put you through individually. And then they just broadcast it and all the teams are there. It's just metrics. Like they do bench press and 30-yard dash or something, the vertical jump, and then you scrimmage. It's just a way for teams to like look at the best players, right?
Okay.
I went to the combine, and of course there's all these like guys with like photos to be signed, like waiting at your hotel. They know where you're staying, and so they sit there and wait for players. This is like a long story and it's stupid, but I went there and I was of the 60 players there, I was one of the more unknown. Like it's awesome to get the invite, like only 60 players do.
Sure, yeah.
But I'm one of the lesser known players there. And I'm like one of two big white blonde guys.
Yeah.
And this guy outside the hotel hands me this photo of this guy. He's, hey, oh man, what was his name? I can't even remember his name. Obviously wasn't a notable player either. He goes, hey, can you sign this for me? And he shows me the picture, and it's of this other guy that like is the other big tall blonde guy that went to UCLA. So I signed it.
I love
I signed it
I
as
love
Eric
Like,
Mika,
yep,
wrong
that's
number,
me.
wrong signature.
That
I was
is
like, this is going to make you
awesome.
no money. Because there are people that are there, like, so that they can sell the pictures. Anyways.
That is hilarious.
I don't even know how I ended up there. But, oh, yeah, I just hate when people ask stupid questions that they haven't done the research. They haven't gotten to know me. It's like all it takes is at least a simple Wikipedia search. So hopefully you didn't get that
no,
feeling.
you nailed it.
Rapid fire. Who's the funniest teammate you ever had?
Oh my gosh. Am I supposed to do this fast too?
No. Rapid fire just meant like they're not long stories and we're not like getting to know your
I'm
story.
like, okay, Mykayla, this.
You have 4 seconds to answer
oh
or
my
the
gosh.
whole building is going to blow. One of the funniest teammates.
I'm like trying to think like back when I was in Elite, because before I went back to train for this Olympics, it was just like we were all just so close and bonded so good. It was just like
that was
we
the
had
tightest team you were on.
Yes. It's just so funny. It's hard because I would like to say myself, but
I like it.
Because I don't know. Everyone just thinks I'm I keep hitting this. I'm sorry. Hands.
You're the ringleader.
Yeah. Like
you were the snack smuggler.
Funny. Like I was stupid funny.
I like it.
Everyone just like laughs at me because I'm stupid funny.
You're the first person to nominate yourself, and I like it. I really like it.
I nominate myself.
You told us about, I was going to have you walk us through like going up to the podium, receiving your silver medal. We kind of did that already. Walk us through like a routine, like the best routine you've ever had, like one that lives rent free in your head, that like you finished it and you're like, oh my gosh. That was amazing.
A routine I competed?
Yeah, like so, like in it, like where whatever competition it was, whatever routine it, like something that hit it and you were like, I nailed that. Right. Like I want to hear about that in detail. Is there one that comes to mind?
So 2015 Worlds, I was in Nanning, China, or was it 2014?
It was 2014.
Okay, he knows me. See, people know me better than I know myself.
I think it was 2014.
I think it's 2014 because 2015
said it with so much confidence.
2015 was Glasgow, Scotland.
Okay, you know better than me. I just literally remember because I've been to Nanning.
Oh, okay.
When I played basketball,
okay.
so like
so
when I saw that, I was like, oh, 2014,
okay.
cool. Anyways.
Yeah. So it was floor finals. So I made it into floor finals. And I don't know if you've heard of Mustafina. What's her name? Alea Mustafina. I might say it wrong. Alea.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, she's from Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. She's from Russia, and she's like one of their best gymnasts. She made it into floor finals. Anyway, I nailed that routine. So freaking good. Every pass was good. And I was like, I'm placing at Worlds on floor.
Yeah.
And she went after me. She was the last one to go. And they gave her like a little bit of a higher score than me. And she ended up getting third. And I didn't place on floor. And I was so sad.
Boo.
I know.
But you hit it and you were like.
It was so freaking good.
What were your passes?
Pretty similar to what I did in this Olympics back in 2014.
Yeah.
So it was good.
Did I sound like
it was
I
so
know?
Good. Double laid out. Probably. I mean, my double laid outs. It's my first pass on floor. Got harder being older.
Yeah.
Definitely harder. They used to be so good. And someone had recently posted that floor routine on Twitter of 2014 Worlds, and it was funny because they're like, Mykayla got bronze on floor, which I'm like, I didn't.
Right.
But anyway, and so someone
But I'll run
commented
with it.
that. Yeah. Someone commented that. And I'm
Some
like,
anonymous hater.
yeah, I'm like, I didn't get third, but I'm glad you think I should have got third.
Yeah, right. I deserved it.
I deserved it, but it's okay. I got third on vault, so I won't complain. But that was like one of my best routines, and my coach, like just getting off the floor and running, and Simone came up and gave me like the biggest hug. It was my first world championships.
Yeah.
So it was like, I almost made it in for individual all around.
Mm-hmm.
So I was the alternate in case I needed to go in for individual all around. And I made floor and vault finals, got the medal on vault. We got gold team. So anyway, great meet, super fun.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
that was my best floor routine, and I loved it.
Very cool.
Never forget it.
Another one. We have two more.
Okay.
Two. What's the most fun place you've been to visit in all your travels?
Scotland.
Scotland.
Was
You said
my
that no
favorite.
hesitation.
Yep.
Why is that? It was just so different. I would imagine. I've never
It
been.
was different, and I mean, we don't get to
Go out a ton.
Yeah, it's mostly eat, sleep, gymnastics. They usually give us like one day where we get to go do something fun.
Yeah.
But I just loved it. I loved the castles, and I think we kind of have some family history that runs in through there.
Oh, cool.
And it was cool because I don't remember where we were, but there was this spot where it said Skinner's Close.
Oh.
So I got a picture under it.
Oh,
So
cool.
I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know? But
The accent is fun too.
yeah.
Hard
Oh,
to
yeah.
understand.
Most countries are not that fun. I mean, I don't know if it's just because we're not staying in the right place or like going and seeing, but
Yeah.
some like food's hard for me. If I don't have like my food, and sometimes they have interesting foods. Like when I was in Nanning, China, I pretty much ate rice for every meal because they were doing like duck feet and all these things.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to eat that.
Yeah.
And so I lost a ton of weight. I remember coming home from the airport, and I was like, everyone was like, you look so skinny,
Skin and
because we
bones.
literally ate rice with ketchup.
That's crazy because
That was
when I went,
my go-to, rice and ketchup.
yeah, it's hard to fatten up on that.
Yeah.
When I went to China, I had the opposite. I got fat because everything was so good. I'm not a picky. I'm not a picky
But
eater.
see, we don't get to go and eat stuff. We have to like eat
Yeah,
in the
that's
hotel
fair.
with like.
Well, that was the crazy thing is, it was like team meals at the hotel because we were traveling a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
But they had a big
Oh,
variety,
jealous.
and it was all really good food, and some of it healthy, like on the surface, like tons of vegetables, but it was all
What?
like
I don't
fried.
even think we had
It was all covered in oil and fried.
so it was like-
I just beefed
yeah,
up
you're
a
like-
little bit. I had the
That's
opposite.
okay.
I got off the plane. Everyone's like, "Whoa."
So, it's so weird.
What's up
But
with
of
that?
course, like being a gymnast, they're not going to give us, I feel like, certain things either.
Yeah, that's kind
This
of
is
wild.
what you get.
Well, you should. I mean, you shouldn't get it in
Most
basketball
places
either, but
have good stuff, but I'm
Yeah.
also just not one to try weird,
that's fair.
random things.
Especially when you're competing.
when
Like
I
you don't
was-
want to get sick.
Right.
Yeah.
When I was in Tokyo, so I did a YouTube video in Tokyo of, well, I thought I was done. So I had to go and do interviews like all day, the day after I had not qualified for
Probably
anything.
exhausting.
And my coach was, getting videos of stuff, and I was going throughout my day. And there was a day when I had tried the sushi that they made there, and it was actually good. And I'm not a sushi fish kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually good. So when I went to eat the sushi again for the video, I thought it was the same sushi because it was at the same place. No, it was something different, and I just did not like it. And I spit it out, and everybody hated on me, like on YouTube. You can't say that. That's so
Disrespectful.
disrespectful
You're
to
like,
their culture. And I'm
yeah.
like, I don't have to like sushi. Other people come here
Yeah.
and they can't stand how greasy our food is and how
Right.
fattening it is. I'm like, I'm not trying to judge them.
You just
like,
didn't like
I
it?
just didn't like
You
it.
didn't like the taste.
Yes.
It's not like you were trying to like
Diss on the-
anybody's
yes, no.
family
Right.
history.
And it wasn't even people in Tokyo that made it. It was like NBC Olympics had workers there and people. So it was them that made it. It
Oh,
wasn't
so
the
it wasn't
Tokyo
even
people.
legit.
Yeah, it wasn't legit. Then I did.
Hey, let them know, Mykayla.
Okay, sorry.
Get
I'm
off
just
her
like,
back.
I'm just going. But last thing, we were doing interviews.
Yeah.
And this was as a team. This was after I did get to compete again. They had all of us on with the Today Show or something there in Tokyo. Anyway, they bring out sushi for all of us as we're sitting there.
Jeez.
Again, the sushi. And I said, oh, look, they put sprinkles on it for us. And they were fish eggs. And so then everybody got mad at me because, like, how could you? What?
They were
They're not gonna
offended
put
by that?
sprinkles on sushi? That's fish egg. Yes.
People are sensitive.
I know. I'm
Lame.
like, I don't know. I don't eat sushi. I don't like it's not my
They
thing.
look like sprinkles to me.
That looked like sprinkles.
We got your back. Don't worry.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Good times.
Any crazy fan experiences?
I don't think I've had really any crazy fan experiences, but if anybody recognizes me, it's always because they see my husband. I went to Disneyland, like Jonas and I, when we go to Disneyland, Disney World, Universal, they'll always come up and be like, oh, I knew it was you because you're husband, because they know
That's
our
hilarious.
height differences.
Yeah.
But then if I'm not like in a leotard with my hair up, they don't really notice me.
Yeah.
Go to Disney World with my mom and sister, not one person.
Do you not go to Disneyland in a leotard and your hair up?
No, but I probably should now that I'm thinking
Apparently,
about it.
You're trying to get some clout.
I know, right? Wear my medal, the whole crowd will be all over me. You know?
I'm not kidding. I would
I'm
wear
just
my
kidding.
medal everywhere.
It is so heavy though.
Perfect.
I should have brought it so
I
you
need
could
to
have
get
seen
stronger with it. That's all
it.
right.
It's
We'll
so
come by.
heavy.
Now
so heavy.
that I know where it is.
We're cool now.
Yeah.
You and
Well,
your
and
wife are going to be like this.
And I know it's in your drawer, so we'll find it.
Yeah, I know. I probably shouldn't have said people are going to come break into my house now. I'm just kidding.
Okay. Who's the most famous person in your phone right now?
Simone Biles.
Who's that?
I don't know.
I'm just
Do you know
kidding.
who that is?
Just
I don't.
kidding. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
I don't know like any NBA. I mean, I did get pictures with like Kevin Durant and some of those cool people, but
Kevin's cool. I'm cooler. I'd say most NBA players would agree with that.
I like that.
The ones that know both of us.
I think you're cooler too. I mean, at least I've had more conversation with you as well.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that. No, I mean Kevin Durant's one of the goats. Simone Biles, pretty awesome phone number to have. I was talking about clout and how you need to wear your medal for clout. It could help your podcast. Easy segue into your podcast. I want to hear about it more. We want to promote it on our podcast. You probably you probably have a much bigger podcast than our podcast. Hopefully ours grows and we can help you grow yours. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so we actually do our podcast through Family Made, which is Sean and Andrew's company.
Mm-hmm.
She reached out to us and goes, we think you'd be a perfect fit to be part of our podcast.
Yeah.
And my husband and I, well, my husband really wanted to do the podcast. I kind of was like, I don't know if I'm like the podcast kind of girl, you know, like it just seems like a lot of work. And I feel like when you listen to a podcast, people just talk differently. And so I'm like, I don't know if like I know how to like talk on a podcast.
And like be
I don't know.
yourself-
Yeah,
and, like, be yourself,
well, then
yeah.
it's hard because you like want to be yourself. Then you're like worried of people judging. But then you're like, if I'm gonna have a podcast, I want to be real.
Yeah.
You know, like, and our podcast is called Agree to Disagree with Mykayla and Jonas. So it's just funny because on there we talk about our life and how we can agree and disagree as a couple, and our marriage still works.
Yeah.
And so obviously
That's
we
cool.
talk about a lot of
important.
things. Yeah, more than just, you know, our relationship, but gymnastics, things in general, statistics, all different things. And it's just funny because a lot of times we'll get like, man, you guys need marriage counseling. And I'm like,
No.
that's why we're on here.
It's actually-
Agree to disagree.
yeah.
I mean, we probably should, everyone I think needs marriage counseling, to be
Right.
honest. But I would love for us to do it. I think it'd be awesome. But
This
anyway,
is therapeutic. Like
It's-
you,
yeah, we
you,
just-
you bring it up in a lighthearted
yeah,
way.
and we can kind of argue
And
a
it's your
little
thing.
bit and have our own opinions. But
Yeah.
it's like, we still love each other. You know,
That's
we're still
awesome.
married. We're having a great time. So we must be doing something right.
Yeah,
You know,
that's super
so,
cool.
Anyway, it's been fun. It's cool. We just finished our first season.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we'll have another season. We'll see. We're going to
Agree to
talk
disagree.
with the team, but
And
yeah,
that's on Apple, Spotify. It's also
on YouTube.
big on YouTube.
Yep.
You have a big following
Yep.
on YouTube. That's awesome. So if you're listening to this, go listen to that. I think that's it. My 2 follow-up questions to close before I do the outro are, one, can we use your socials? Like, can we pull videos and pictures?
Yeah. Oh,
if
yeah.
we make like a reel or whatever, and we'll just tag you. And then who are 3 people that you think need to be on this show that kind of think like you, that had this transition and worked it like you did?
Well, I mean, if you could get Sean on here.
So Sean, actually, I've emailed with Andrew.
Okay.
And he said yes in principle. Basically, we messaged on Instagram. He said, email me. I emailed him. They were on vacation, though, so I felt kind of bad emailing him. And then he said, yes, we're in. And he said, I'll connect you with, I think it was like Lexi or something.
Oh,
I think they had like an assistant. And then I haven't heard since. I'm not going to try and press it. But I'd love to have Sean on. I think she'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Obviously, Gabby met her at the mom summit. And said she was
because
great
her
too.
story, I mean, she tells me her stuff, and it's just incredible to see her experiences and what she went through. Right. Because it wasn't easy for her.
It maybe on the surface looks easy, but for nobody at your guys' level was it easy.
Yeah.
Okay. So Sean.
So I mean Sean. So
maybe I could get your help.
Put in a word for you.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
I'm trying to think. I feel like I should know more people, but my brain's not working.
Okay. There's no rush.
Because I feel like all I really know is gymnasts. So are you fine with gymnasts?
Like anyone. Like, we've had snowboarders, volleyball. We're gonna have golf. We have basketball. We have football. We have now gymnastics, skiing.
Okay,
like,
so
we want to make sure like it's all covered.
I love
Soccer. So yeah, tell me gymnasts. That's fine. That's who you know.
I'm trying to think like who's done now.
No, they could be current too.
I know,
they
but
could
I'm
be
like,
current.
I don't know if they have like.
They don't have stuff that they're doing.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, it's called cool. It's all cool.
No, I see what you're saying.
I mean, there's one here in Utah, Grace McCallum. She's gonna get mad at me. I don't say her last name right. McCallum. It's either McCallum or McCallum. I always say it wrong, and she gets frustrated because people don't say it right.
Sorry, Grace.
She's at the U.
Okay.
But she was on the Olympic team.
Oh, great.
And
she'd be fun.
She would be fun.
In college.
Yes, she's currently in college, and I don't think she's going back to train for the Olympics, but I know it'd be cool to get her intake, especially with all athletes going back to the Olympics now.
Yeah.
And training for that, and she's kind of like one of the only ones that's currently on the team that isn't, besides me. So, and I like her a lot. She's cute. I mean, a really big one is Allie Raisman, I think is good.
I'm going to write it down.
So, she was 2012.
Well, that's 3. And
if I think of more in the time being, I'll just text
please
you
do.
too.
Yeah, please do.
But Allie Raisman.
I'll probably circle back, and like if there is someone connected with gymnastics, I'll probably just text you because you know everyone. Obviously.
I know. But Allie Raisman's one of my favorites. I love her.
That's amazing. Cannot thank you enough. This is probably our longest chat. Maybe.
I said I like to talk a lot. My husband gets mad on the podcast. Every time he's like,
trying to move on.
Yeah, he's like, come on.
Well, ours is, we'll cut it down a little bit. It'll be hard to cut down. Like, this is our outro. You absolutely crushed it. You have an amazing story. The ups and downs that you went through, obviously, like, have made you, who you are today, which is amazing. And like, you own it, which is so cool. The fact that you love your journey, like, you don't look at it and have regrets, like, even though you were so close so many times, because it finished with such a beautiful ending, right? It's really, really cool. Even cooler are all the things that you're doing since, and all the things that you were continuing during, right? Like, it's the epitome of this podcast, of this show, is you can do both. It's important to do both. And like, I keep talking about how, like, I just think it's so funny that, you act like this transition was nothing, but you've put some serious groundwork in, and you should be proud of it. And we can't thank you enough for coming on the show and talking to the next generation of athletes about it.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Well, I'm glad I could share my story. You're the man. I better be seeing that Olympic medal around your neck. Team USA. Next Olympics.
If you could talk to KD for me, maybe we could get it done.
I'll work on it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Are we good?
Thank you.